Okay, is this live? That was exceedingly frustrating. Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully everybody's able to get back in the chat. If y'all can see this now, if you would let me know, that would be great. YouTube kicked me off because they think that I had copyrighted music in my now live on your channel. Okay, so hopefully this is live again. YouTube just kicked me off because of something. Let me double check what the email said. I was flagged for their review. Upon review, we've determined that it violates our guidelines and we've removed it from YouTube. I have no idea why. I've got permission to use all the music that I was using. I made all the art that I was using. And I don't think Atropos hates me, so I don't think that he was going to flag me for using Foundry in the video. Did someone just tweet about it? Nope. Okay. The Savage World. Like, oh, that's just their... I thought that was maybe like the system. You're good. That's what I think. The bots check for audio. Yeah, it has to be the audio, but it's the pack that Foundry just released. And so I guess I like having some music. I streamed last time with music, but it was the Michael Gelfi music, I think. And I did verify with Michael Gelfi specifically that that music was okay to use in a stream, and I guess I didn't do that with this, but I assumed that it was the same license as the Gelfi pack. I guess it's technically possible that it wasn't. But I don't know. Or actually, no, I used the Humble Bundle pack that I got. Let me just run that again, though I'm getting a little tired of it. This is what it was, I think. Here, let me get some kind of music going. Is this? Yeah. I'll grab all these looped ones, put them in here, do that, and turn it down a little bit. There, how's the volume on that for everybody? I just turned it down a little bit. Hopefully that's good. That's what I think the bots. Yep, I already read that. Vin. Hey, Vin, how's it going, man? How's everybody's game gone this week? If anybody's had a game this week. And if you are a dungeon master or a player, happy to hear about it. So what I'm trying to do is build out this character who's a Way of the Shadow monk to counteract my Way of the Sun Soul monk. And they're kind of supposed to be diametrically opposed to each other. So a couple of the thoughts that I had were, one, they actually rolled very similarly to each other. She just rolled a little bit worse for the strength. But my thoughts are, I can either go ability score improvement or feat. Now, Callista, who is the one that she's supposed to be opposing, went with a feat. She got Sentinel. So I was thinking about getting mobile. Working on my first one, picking up what you're putting down. Nice. First one's scary. First one is very scary. Or at least it was for me. But then again, every one that I do is scary. I played on Tuesday, and every Tuesday I get freaked out thinking, oh god, everyone's gonna hate this. This is gonna go terribly. But they keep coming back, so it can't be that bad, I guess. Trevco613, what happened? So YouTube determined for some reason that my stream should be taken down. My guess is that it's because of the music that I was playing, but as far as I'm aware, I have permission to use that music. It's the music, or it was the music from the Adventure Music pack that Foundry just released. I am no longer using it. I'm using other music that I absolutely know that I have the rights to use. It is Dude, when I clicked the used to get this video, I got a dev page saying this video has been removed for Adrian. Yeah, they kind of screwed me on that one. They took the stream down, I presume because of music. But like I said, I am pretty sure that I have the rights to that music, or permission to use that music at least. Using different music now, I'm never going to do that again, because I don't want to confuse people. And we'll see if we can get the viewership back up to where it was. If I can't, I don't really care. I'm fine talking to as few people as anyone. How do I want to say that? I'm happy to talk to no one or as many people as want to be here. That's what I was trying to say. So now I'm flustered. Right. So trying to find a feat that is contrary to Sentinel, and I think it was mobile that I was looking at. Yeah. So I've never done VTT before. This is not first time DMing. I have not played in years. Brand new to 5e and VTT. I can get that. Foundry was my first time with a virtual tabletop, but I had been DMing the game already for a while, and thankfully had time to get everything prepped and ready for this. But 5e, the campaign that I'm running now, was actually my introduction to 5e too. I used to play a lot of 3.5 in high school, and then I didn't get to play D&D for a long time, like play or DM, because after high school and like into college, everybody just moved away. It was super hard to get a game going again. But now all of that's back together, and I'm actually like playing in a game and running a game, and it's awesome. So what do you all think for a monk who already has a 19 dex, because Lightfoot Halflings get a +2 dex? Should I go ASI, get it to 20, and then maybe bring... the only other thing I could bring up really is that I would actually get a point for is either intelligence or charisma. And backstory wise, hey, what do you do for unidentified items? I handle most items in D&D Beyond, so I just tell them, like, hey, you have this thing, this object, like this sword, and if they don't know what it is and they have to wait to identify it or anything like that, I just don't tell them what it is, and I don't put the item in their D&D Beyond inventory or in Foundry's inventory until they have an opportunity where they can identify it or they try to attune to it or something like that. I'm going to turn this music down a little bit more. And backstory wise, so she was like the smarter sister. So having her have a 16 intelligence and a 20 dex makes sense, like backstory wise. It's not necessarily the most optimized character in terms of min-maxing or anything. But I did see a lot of people talking about mobile, and then I was thinking about Magic Initiate, because Magic Initiate lets you take a first level spell from any from Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard. And I was thinking about doing a Hex, getting Hex from the Warlock class so that she can cast Hex, get all that additional damage, and also still like then pop back out with some of the disappearing abilities that the Way of Shadow gets. Yeah, pretty sure mobile counters Sentinel, because Sentinel specifically mentions the disengage action. Use the dash action, difficult terrain. Yeah, your speed increase. Yeah, so she'd be faster. She could take the dash action and make a melee attack against her. You don't. But the rough thing with Sentinel is when you make a melee attack against a creature, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from that creature for the rest of the turn. I think I might have misread this originally in that, because Sentinel works when you attack someone else near the person who has Sentinel, and then they can like get an attack on you as their reaction. And this would only stop the person that they actually hit from doing it, which is not as beneficial. But still beneficial because it makes it easier for you to get away. Ooh, that's big and green. What does that mean? Your videos really helped me get Foundry set up nicely and wrap my head around DungeonDraft. I just want to... Oh, is this... Brad, thank you so much. That's awesome. Yeah, you get the honor of being the first person to do that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope that the videos are helpful. I'm working on some other DungeonDraft content too, and I'm also working on some other map making content. Like you might see that I've got Incarnate open up here. I've been messing around with that a little bit, and I'm no good at making world maps or even like regional maps, so I don't know that I'll be making content about that. But they posted on Twitter recently, Incarnate RPG, that they're working on a top-down encounter map builder, and I have no idea how good it's going to be, but I'm really excited to try it when it comes out. It looks cool, and they posted they're sponsoring somebody's stream or something that's using it for all their battle maps now, Garblag Games, who I haven't watched, but I really like the art style that they use. It's a little less cartoony than DungeonDraft, but it's not like the super realistic one that Dungeon Paint Studio has that I'm not really a fan of, because I think it gets like kind of Uncanny Valley-y. What are these notifications? Oh, Drew. Hey, Drew. What's up, man? Athlete feet. Athlete feet. That sounds humorous. Like athlete's foot. Athlete. Let me check what that is, because I'm not sure that I know what it means, or what it does off the top. You have undergone extensive physical training to gain the following benefits. Increase your strength or dex by 1 to a maximum of 20. When you're prone, standing up, use only 5 feet of your movement. Climbing doesn't cost you extra movement. And you can make a running long jump or a running high jump after moving only 5 feet on foot rather than 10 feet. There's a lot of interesting, like, small pieces to this feat that I could design the encounter around. But they'd be very specific. Though that is one nice thing about this, like, nightmare situation, is I can design a character that's so specific that that they can only really make sense inside of this nightmare, because her character is going to be completely different when she's not in a nightmare. So I'll have to keep this in the back of my mind while I'm working on the map. So my feat options kind of currently are Athlete, Magic Initiate to get whatchamacallit, Hex, so that she gets extra Hex damage, which could seriously like up her challenge rating, because that's a lot of damage to do in a turn with like 4 or 5 attacks. The mobile feat, though I'm less interested in that, but people keep talking about it. Adrian Parsons. Mobile is easily the best feat for a monk at any level. Huh. Yeah, the additional movement is good. Difficult terrain movement is good. But I'm not intending on having any difficult terrain in this. But that doesn't... the main benefit is from this, I guess. And the increased movement. So when you make a melee attack against a creature, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from that creature for the rest of the turn, whether you hit it or not. And that's actually pretty good, because one aspect... I don't know how much y'all know about the Way of Shadow. Shadow Arts. Let's go to their character, or to their class list real quick and take a look at what their options are, because it's actually really cool. So she can cast Darkness, Dark Vision, Pass Without a Trace, or Silence without providing material components. Additionally, you gain the Minor Illusion cantrip if you don't already know it. Let's take a look what that is. You create a sound or an image of an object within range that lasts for the duration. The illusion also ends if you dismiss it. Yeah, this could be a really good way to try to draw them in, because my idea is to use this is kind of the place where they are, where they're going into these sleeping dream druids. Um, and so they're going to effectively go into each one of these, or not each one of these druids' heads, but some of these druids' heads experience their own personal nightmare to free them and then get them out in a kind of tropey way. But I still think it's fun, or I hope is fun. We'll see. Maybe they liked the first one. And so I'm trying to use this kind of as like a mood picture. Because where Callista grew up was the docks of the Moon Bay, but like the crappy sewery area. And so she's going to have lived in like one of these areas, and her parents were total badasses, and they ran like a halfling fight club underneath their shop, and they were very like anarcho-socialist type people who were originally pirates, but when they decided to have kids, they set up shop basically selling some of the fantastic things that they found, and then just selling like general goods to the rest of the populace, and fomenting aggression against the rich. So very fitting for the current times. And so I'm going to kind of show this image and start to try to draw them into the shop, which obviously Callista will recognize and be drawn into. And then they're eventually going to be drawn down into the cellar where they had their like underground fight club, basically. And that's kind of where the fight is going to start. I'm kind of leaning towards something where most of the players are upstairs fighting shadow creatures, and I actually have a bunch of like shadow monsters open in one tab somewhere around here that we'll get to eventually. And Callista and her sister will have to, like, because they both have Monk's Featherfall, fall down into the cellar, and they'll fight each other in some kind of shadowy nightmare thing, so that it's a one-on-one kind of fight. So, get here, move into the shop, and then the fight will start. And some of the cool things about it is that since it's a relatively small shop, she'll be able to cast darkness over basically the entire place. And I just saw John Richardson's comment, Shadow Step is insanely good. It absolutely is insanely good. When I read it, I was like, that's a thing that you can do? That's insane. It seems so powerful for 6th level. So at 6th level, you gain the ability to step from one shadow into another. When you are in dim light or darkness, as a bonus action, you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see that is also in dim light or darkness. You then have advantage on the first melee attack you make before the end of the turn. That's crazy. You use bonus action to teleport away at the end of a turn, and then at the beginning of your next turn, they'll either have to use their movement and one of their actions to get back to you, and then you can bonus action teleport again to the other side of them, punch them in the face, get advantage on it, double your likelihood of a nat 20. That turns into a pretty brutal fight pretty fast. And it's cool because there will be all this like shadow descriptions and stuff like that as she's doing all this crazy shadow magic, and Callista's just lighting her up with like radiant sunlight and all that. And she just got burning hands as a 6th level way of the Sun Soul Monk, so she can just like torch her. And I'm thinking about even having her radiant energy have something to do with eventually getting rid of the darkness, and using that to find wherever this chained up sleeping circle of the Dream Druid is going to be. Oh, I didn't see Adrian's second comment. It allows them to take advantage of their speed to be immune to any melee attackers. They can't hit what they can't reach, and they get no opportunity attacks. Yeah, and the fact that with mobile she could also teleport 60 feet and then move 30 feet, though it's slightly less useful in this context because the cellar isn't going to be that big. So it's slightly limited there. See, there's so many different like variables to tweak around in this fight to make it interesting. But You know what? Let's design the map a little bit. We'll see what the map is going to look like. And then from there, we can determine which ability is going to be the most useful. So let's come over here. I made the last map too big. I do remember that. So we're going to start a little bit smaller now. And is the music volume good? Is my volume good? I don't want to blow anybody's ears out or be hard to hear or anything like that. And also, now that the stream is like back and it's going and people have been able to find it again, how's everybody's games gone this week? Or how are they going to go if you played a game over the weekend or if you play during the week? I play on Tuesdays, or I DM on Tuesdays. I play on Wednesdays. I always like to hear how people's campaigns are going and what's like going on in them so I can steal from them into my own campaign. Like some of the anarcho-socialist halfling stuff is kind of like very Dimension 20. Like that music volume a bit low. You're the man, Vin. Thank you. Let me pump that up a little bit. I have it at like negative 27 dB. So I'll go to negative 22. Get it a little higher because I know this music is kind of dynamic and shifts up and down a little bit. So a normal shop probably gonna on the big side be maybe 25 feet wide if it's also a home, probably. So this will be a kind of small map, actually. I'll include a little bit of the outside just to have like windows that people can get thrown out of or something like that. So let's do a width of 5 times 10 would be 50. Height, let's do 15 here and 10 high, just to have a little bit of wiggle room. Ooh, actually I think I have a gigantic asset pack set up right now. It's gonna get loaded. My wife just sent me a message saying that she's making cookies. I am now thoroughly excited. And fun fact, she's the one that we're designing this nightmare for. Ow, my freaking ears, Todd Flanders. Stupid, sexy Flanders. The game IDM is going well. Level 18 PCs getting ready to go up against a cloud giant lich. The party's been gathering aid and allies for a strike and getting ready. You could give your NPC slippers of spider climbing to expand the fight to the ceiling. That would be so badass because she hates spiders. And that was actually going to be one of my next questions is what magic item should I give her? Because you level 6, you gotta have magic items. You gotta have at least a few. So let's say slippers of spider climbing. Take a look at these bad boys. Wow, they actually look like little, like Spider-Man booties. Schley assets as in Mike Schley? Yeah, Mike Schley. It's not built into DungeonDraft, but if you go to MikeSchley.com, I think it is, he has his shop. It's an absolutely dreadful shop. The user experience of using it is quite terrible, but he makes excellent assets. And then it's the, I believe, Schlayscapes PNG suites. And it only shows like 12 icons here or tokens, but there's 300 in the pack. And so I bought that. And there's also, it's not on here, but I don't think it's on here, at least. I think you have to buy this through the campaign cartographer people. But he has another 2 packs that are on Pro Fantasy's shop. And their website is maybe worse than his, but they're kind of expensive at like $40, but I think it's like another 300 tokens in each pack, and there's 2 of them, 30 or $40. Yeah, Dungeons of Slay. Oh, okay, it's 25. So it's $50 total for both. And it's cool. And so I've got terrain. Like, just look at all these options. Water, green. It looks really nice. I love the alternative style. And if I have all of the assets to make a map out of his assets, sometimes I will, just because it's such a cool style. You can do dirt. Got all kinds of stuff. This isn't so impressive. But then there's also all of the objects. Let's just scroll forever until we start getting down into his assets. And then you can tell there's just so many going through. But this is probably eating up a bunch of video memory, having all of these assets in here. But, like, they look pretty cool. Oh man, it's been a hot minute since I used DungeonDraft, so it's a little hard for me to remember all the controls. Yeah, like that. Oh, it just looks so good. I love the art style so much. Oh, I didn't finish reading Michael Lively's. Oh, yeah, Mike. Or Michael, did y'all start at level 1 and you got to level 18, or did you start at a higher level campaign? The first time I played D&D, we started a higher level campaign, and 3.5, I was a sorcerer. There were so many spells to learn in so little time. But it was a lot of fun. It was like a very good crash course in magic and D&D. And I'm always curious whenever people have high level campaigns going like that, if they started there or if they've just been playing for a long time and how long it took to get there. Hey, allophilia. Ooh, not sure what allo is, but I hope it appreciates you philia-ing it. Those slippers of spider climbing look more like Crocs of spider climbing. Let's see. Yeah, they look pretty comfy though. I don't trust them to actually hold you up because there's no back to them. I like shoes that have backs. But that's okay. Offering interesting free asset modules. Yeah, clearly called. How do you feel about DungeonDraft in that regard? DungeonDraft, from what I've seen from Mega, who is the developer for DungeonDraft, for anybody that doesn't know, I don't think that he's going to do the same thing. I think that he's going to allow the custom asset community to flourish. Allophilia equals opposite of prejudice. Oh, well, in that case, allophilia, presuming that is indeed what it means and you're not tricking me, is a good thing. I had to put that in there just in case anybody clips it and makes me say something horrible. But yeah, I think that Atropos's maneuvers in securing exclusive rights to, or not exclusive rights, but rights to package things with Foundry is an exceedingly good idea. Especially if he ensures that the assets that he's getting are usable for streams of the people that own Foundry and things like that. Like, I'm probably not going to stream, at least on YouTube, with the music from those packs until I figure out whatever happened that got me kicked off of YouTube a minute ago. But, during the first part of this stream. But if you can stream with them, that's huge. And I know for a fact that you can with the Michael Gelfie mask because I talked to Michael about it in the Discord. And he said, yeah, you can do that. I'll have to double check with the Adventure Music pack because that's what I was streaming at the start, and that's what got me in trouble. But it could be just that it sounded orchestral. But I probably will not use that necessarily going forward because I do sometimes post videos from my campaign. But I think that DungeonDraft would be wise to do the same thing. Not that I should tell Mega what to do. Like, he's got 2 very successful programs. He probably knows a lot more about it than I do and how he wants to run it. But I would be very open to paying the cost of DungeonDraft again for a completely like new set of assets that, or a new style of the same objects that we've already got. Like if we could get all of the assets from here up in a completely different style, I would probably be willing to pay that multiple times over. Just because sometimes you want to have a different style for a different map depending on what the vibe is going to be. Like if you're doing something in the Feywild, you want something a little bit more neon, a little brighter, a little like trippier maybe, depending on how you view the Feywild at least. And so I think that'd be cool. But him letting custom asset developers do all of that work so he doesn't have to put the upfront money in to making all of those assets is not a bad idea. It's a very, very consumer friendly move. So I appreciate that. What am I doing? What am I doing, guys? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be making a map. We started at level 1. Level 1! And you're level 18. That must feel so good. Like, man. I think of how long it's taken us just to get to level 6. And granted, there were some breaks in there because the entire world shut down due to a pandemic, as it should have. I'm not saying that that was a bad idea. I'm still not leaving the house except for groceries. But that shut down, and I didn't know how to get online for the game yet. But now that I do, we're like fully back and forth. But it's going to take a long time to get to level 18. 3 years sounds about right. But that must be so amazing. You've got so much history at that point, so much character development. Has anyone died? Not to put it into a total bummer, but I'm always curious if people are playing all of their original characters. What do we think would be a good background texture for kind of road? This is kind of a city. So I think like some kind of cobblestone type thing. Oh, I already had it on terrain rocky. Would be useful. I don't know that there's a good... Ooh, brick. Oh yeah, so this is from the Schley asset. So I could use this. This is a nice brick thing. And the style isn't so different from the rest of DungeonDraft that it would look really weird to have it. Cobblestone. Let's see what that other cobblestone. Cobble's dark. I like that. So we might start with this. I would definitely spend extra money for new assets in DungeonDraft. Yeah, 100%. I wasn't willing to do it for WonderDraft just because I still suck in WonderDraft. I've used WonderDraft so many times. I still can't make a good map with it. I can't make that great of a map in DungeonDraft either, but a little bit better. At least. Gabriel Picard partnership win. You know, I've heard a lot of people talking about him, but I don't actually know what his assets look like. Let's take a look. So he's a Roll20 marketplace kind of guy. It looks like he's also on Drive-Thru RPG. Save versus Cave. So he does have a lot of assets at least. Oh god, I hate the layout of this website. Okay, these are pretty good styles. Sometimes the style gets so realistic, and that's kind of my problem with some of the Dungeon Paint Studio assets, is that they are trying to be so realistic that they hit the uncanny valley because the shadows aren't quite right. It's not actually 3D. Things just don't wind up being perfect. And that can make it seem like a little faker. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want to say hi? You don't have to. Here, you can see you over here.
Okay. Hi.
Wait, are you? I can't tell. Let me. There you are.
I make you cookies, and what do? You design an entire session of a campaign to torment me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You'll have fun. That was my wife, everyone. She made M&M cookies. And now I'm going to torture her with a nightmare. Okay. Yeah, these assets look good. I might have to pick some of these up and pull them into DungeonDraft anyway. We've had 2 of our original 6 leave, so we have 4 now with me as the DM. All the PCs have died at least once, but they got revived / true resurrected, so all original PCs do. That's pretty awesome. 6 is a lot of people to have in a game, plus a DM. Having 4 feels like a very good number, especially if one of them is a healer. We had 3 players for the longest time. It was a monk, a bard, and a warlock. No healing other than healing word, basically. It was very, very rough. Getting a 4th player who was a paladin and had cure wounds and had lay on hands and all that stuff. So much better. So much better. I am much less stressed developing encounters knowing that like there's someone who can try to bring them back other than just the bard. And that's awesome that they're all still their original characters. That must be amazing. Any thoughts on how to implement Foundry for in-person D&D sessions? I was thinking a laptop for the DM and connected to a TV/projector for the player's view. Yes, and actually eventually once everything returns back to normal and I play part of my... I'm actually not sure if I'm going to bring the game... Because one of my players is 2 hours away, and so they're not going to be able to play. Only in person. So it's either going to be a mixture of online and in-person or just stay online. And I've honestly had such a good time online DMing where like I can sit at my desk. I feel more comfortable role-playing. I feel more comfortable trying to get into character. I feel I have much better note-taking ability because I have multiple monitors in front of me. I actually really, really like being online. I think some of the players have too because you've got all your stuff at home. You don't have to like go anywhere. You don't have to get cleaned up or ready or anything like that. It's really nice. One thing, hot seat observer, I hope this doesn't bring up anything strange. One module that you should take a look at is the hot seat observer module. And we can pretty much just read the package description of how this is useful. So this module is primarily intended to be used to facilitate single screen VTT at home situations, either all players looking at a screen or using a screen laid out flat. Currently, the app provides the following options. To use correctly, the DM should create a new player and assign that player an owner role to every single character. By default, the system expects this name to either be Observer or Hot Seat. By providing this as an additional role, the GM may maintain control of the Observer player credentials while allowing other players to still also have ownership of their characters by logging in to level up or look at their character sheet using their own credentials. And this basically makes it so that you can swap through different characters and stuff at a table, and they can all control it with the same like keyboard and mouse setup, and is a pretty useful module. Vin beat me to it. Thank you, Vin. I just realized y'all might have very closely been listening to me eat those cookies, and so I apologize for that. I think 4 is the sweet spot, but as a DM, I don't mind 5 players either. Anything more than that is hard, particularly trying to give each player the spotlight at moments. Yeah, having 5 players I think would be doable, especially if they all meshed together and if they like knew the system, they didn't take 5 hours for each one of their turns. And that's one thing that I'm very lucky with. 3 out of 4 of my players pretty much know what they're going to do when their turn comes up, and one of them is exceedingly new to the game, and is a bard and has access to 50 million spells and a dozen spell slots, and so it's a lot for them to wrap their heads around. And so sometimes it takes them a little bit longer, but everybody else is very helpful with reminding other people of rules, like what current conditions are and stuff like that. If you've got a good group, 5 can be a very doable number. Nothing beats drinking all around a table. Yeah, that's true. Though I get so anxious while I'm DMing, I mean, I don't drink normally, but I especially wouldn't drink while I was DMing just because I get so anxious. I mean, I guess most people would argue that that would probably help with the anxiety, but does not super help me. But yeah, nobody having to drive home afterwards. That means you can play till 1 in the morning because it's not like somebody has to drive half an hour to get home afterwards. I just split my 8-player campaign into 2 groups of 4. It was the best choice I've made in regards to player. Yeah, I think that's a very, very good idea. And then you can eventually, like, for occasional sessions, merge those campaigns if they're both in the same world and they're both kind of working in the same area. Though, if they're both doing the exact same quest, you get 2 D&D games a week for the cost of prepping 1. That's actually a pretty good deal. Damn, that would actually be really cool if you could, and then you could see how people do it differently and you could spring them off into slightly different directions, but kind of like always recenter them eventually. Yeah, the game we've been talking about has been online. We have a player in Sweden and the rest in the USA. Been doing weekly Roll20 games. One of my players bought me Foundry on release day. Nice. I hope that you're liking it. Man, Sweden, that's a long way. I'm curious, or I guess if you're not doing, I guess even with video chat, it's not that bad internationally, like it used to be. Something great minds. Well, you may have a great mind. I just have a mind. Okay. The Billy Mays method. Billy Mays here. Oh, he's been gone a long time now. That's kind of sad. So they have kind of a ramshackly house. And one thing that frustrates me a little bit with DungeonDraft is that you can't get a better idea of what these assets look like in a wide view. One good thing about it is that when you hover over something here, you get a bigger view of it off to the left-hand side. I would actually really like to see the same thing for the building tool with these so that you can get a look at what multiple squares look like, because I can never remember if it's this one that looks good or if it's this one that looks good. This one looks kind of like, I don't know why, but something about it screams stage to me, like some kind of performance area, whereas this is more like an actual inside of a home or normal building kind of thing. Main story arcs are different, but I reuse all the side quest / items they miss in each other's session. Yep, that's a good idea, Top Hat. Top Hat T-Rex. I kept reading as Top Hat Tricks before, but I think that it's Top Hat T-Rex. And I like that name. You have to bring them together somehow for an epic reveal, yeah. I run the RPG club at the school I work at, and the game I run has 8 PCs. Man, depending on how young honestly, there's no school level group of 8 that I can possibly imagine being an easy thing to run, so major props to you for actually being able to do that. That's insane. My wife is a teacher, and I understand how they can be. I DM for the first time this past weekend using the Rick and Morty one-shot. We had one person DM for Lost Mines of Phandelver and Curse of Strahd, and then another DM to their homebrew campaign. Damn, that is an awful lot of D&D. Not in a bad way. I'm envious. So if this is a shop, and we've got, how many squares is this? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. 55 feet wide. That's kind of big for a small shop. But we have to keep in mind that this isn't just a shop, it's also their home. They live in here, so there's going to have to be 2 rooms, at least, and then some of it designated for shop items. I lean towards having the rooms be off to the far side. That's what I lean towards. Let's see what that actually looks like if we come in and put another 10 1. Yeah, we'll do wood. 10, kind of like split that across. Yeah, so this is a much more reasonable size. Church of Strahd fits. Yeah, a little bit. One of my friends is in a Curse of Strahd campaign. Sounds pretty messed up. I've never actually gotten to play it. I know a little bit about it. I know the setup. The fortune teller, which is awesome, by the way. I love the concept of that. But he keeps telling me what's happening. I'm like, that's awful. It's truly terrible. 2 floors would be an option. It's already kind of gonna be 2 floors, and that there's this floor, and then that there's sorry, my stutter. A cellar underneath. But I'm also thinking that maybe the cellar is something they kind of dug out themselves and isn't supposed to be there. I've trained them to stay in formation when walking the map, and that we roll initiative. Wait, what? Oh, I gotcha. I have trained them to stay in formation when walking the map, and then we roll initiatives. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Initiative is probably a good constant order to stay in with when you're running it for kids, just to make sure that everybody gets a chance to do something, and all that stuff, because you could easily get some kid getting steamrolled. I was going to say lots of people above, yeah, a lot of people do live above shops, and then it could be a smaller map. But one of the reasons why I want to do 1 floor is that I kind of want to keep some of the players up there, and then at least for a little while, and then have the 2 monks fighting in the under cellar area, and then probably eventually joined by the rest of the party. And it would be a little harder to manage having them on 3 separate floors, but it could work. Whenever 2 or more people want to do something, like open a chest. Yeah, that makes sense, Trev. Every single game of Curse of Strahd is different to the cards. Yeah, the cards are kind of awesome. Oh, wait a second. I gave my... I'm sorry, I just had a flashback to 3 sessions ago. I gave my players a deck of illusions. They don't know what it is. One of them, I think, thought that it was a deck of many things and looked horrified when I said you find an unfinished deck of cards. Because I don't think they know about a deck of illusions. But I just remembered that they haven't thought about that in multiple sessions. I'll have to remind them that they have that. Because that's cool. I thought I'd given all of them an item, but then I was thinking in the last game that I hadn't. But the Bard has the Deck of Illusions, so that's why. That's what he's got. Let's see what objects we have for making it look like a shop. So we want something that can at least be made to look like a bookcase or something. A design table serving as kind of a counter could work. I keep trying to... I never remember that it's Alt to shift down. We'll turn snapping off. Get a little bit more precise placement for this. And then maybe put a couple of these other ones next to it so that it will be a longer counter. Yeah, there we go. So that's a decent counter. Oh, Panzer UDL with $5. Appreciate your Foundry videos. Very helpful for a new DM. Just started using Incarnate today. Good for non-combat maps at the town/city level. You are 100% right. Actually, before I go on to that, thank you very much. That's extremely kind of you. I appreciate it a lot. I don't even know what to say, honestly. I have to think of something that I can say when this happens that shows more appreciation, but I do genuinely appreciate it. Thank you very much. But to your point about Incarnate, I actually have Incarnate up here, and I was going to use it for exactly that purpose of a kind of non-combat map at the town/city level, and I was going to use it to kind of give like a feel of the place where they were going to be, which is this like crappy part of a port city called the Bay of or the Moon Bay or something like that, the sewer docks of Moon Bay. And so that's what this was for. And then I actually was working on another kind of idea that I was eventually going to try to make a Foundry video, Foundry video on, but was using Incarnate to make kind of like a starter screen in Foundry. And you can use it to like make a background of wherever they are. And so this is like carved out into the woods that they're in, called the Farston Woods. And then it has a character card for each one. I haven't finished this, obviously, but I'll put like their image, a little bit of a description, and then I might pull all four of them up and then have a kind of a long wide card across the bottom that is like a summation of what happened in the last game, and have this be where we open to when we first get into the game, so it doesn't just go right into the last map we were in. We can kind of start this way and then transition to the next map. So that's another interesting thing that you can use Incarnate for. And I already showed this, but on their Twitter, they were showing how they're working on making an encounter map design, which I'm extremely excited for, and I think will be really cool whenever it comes out, because you can get some amazing looking maps. I've had better luck making maps there than I have with WonderDraft, though I like WonderDraft better because I like the ability to trace images is very useful for me, because I use, if anybody has or hasn't heard of it, Asgard's Fantasy Map Generator. This thing is really cool. And you can use it to just like generate random maps, and it will have the rivers already laid out for you, like location names, regional map delineations, like which country is where. You can even change to see it in a topographical style, so you can see, I don't remember how to do it, it's been a while. Oh, height map maybe? Yeah, and so you can see it in height map. You can even put it in 3D and get a 3D view of where there are mountains and everything, which makes it really easy to like realistically define where things are in your map, and just gives you a place to start from at the very least, which I really need when it comes to world maps. Then, of course, there are the one-shot Strahd must die tonight and Strahd must die again. Strahd must die tonight, but much harder. Big benefit to have my own NAS where I can easily spin up a Docker of Foundry. Yeah, NAS is great. I have a NAS set up for a bunch of other things. I don't actually have Foundry running on it or anything. I have a DigitalOcean droplet that I run it on. I also have a Forge server for another Foundry license that I have for my friend's game, and I mostly kept it because I wanted to see how it performs, and if it winds up being terrible or anything, I can stop recommending it to people. But so far for me, it's worked really well for the game that he runs. Top Hat T-Rex, is there a module / way to set flat attack roll bonuses? For example, spells cast from items. So if you use a charge of an item and you make an attack roll with it, for it to just add whatever value you've given it, if I'm understanding you correctly. So we've got a counter. We can use planks probably for the shelves. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Let's see if there's anything else that looks good. And actually, you know what? If we do this as over, then we could still grab items like a pot or something, change it to under, make it much smaller, and place it underneath it, so it, but just a little bit, so you can see it poking out, so it looks like there's actually stuff on the shelves, like some cabbages just poking out from the sides and stuff like that. Let's see, is there anything else in here that looks like it would be a better shelf system? Just put treasure chests all over the place. No, so far it doesn't really look like there is. What would I want? Oh, for a knocked over chair. Gotcha. Bench, that's basically the same thing. I actually kind of prefer the bench now that I see it because the lines aren't as thick. Oh, they're kind of thick when you build it up. Oh, these merchant shelves. That could be... It makes it look like they only sell books and stuff, which they don't, but it does look good. And actually, this has enough variation in it. Yeah! Yeah! See? Sometimes you just gotta look through every asset that you own, and eventually you'll find something that should be useful. They could be a trap store and just sell evil statues, those things that grab you in Half-Life. What are they called? Can't remember. Making a fool of myself, not remembering. But that's okay. Ooh, but then I could use the new ladders if it is upstairs. Maybe this will be an overhang, like a loft situation. And I'll do this as a second level, and apply some opacity so I can tell where a player is on each floor, so it doesn't get more complex with having to have a third part of the map or a third scene that players can be moved to. That might be a good idea. And then everybody gets what they want. Because I do like ladders. Ladders look cool. Yeah, so let's place a couple of these. And fun quick tip is you can press... Oh, see, I can't give quick tips anymore because all of the key commands are down here in the bottom. But if I do hold A to mirror, I can also rotate it that way. Actually, you know what? I might put these directly underneath each other so that it looks like there's stuff on both sides. And it gets a little repetitive, but I don't have enough assets to really cover a whole lot more. Element user. Hi, I'm a new DM too. I used your videos for Foundry and it convinced me to buy it for my sessions over using other tools. They're very helpful. I sincerely hope that I did not mislead you. I hope that you're having fun using it. I hope that you're getting everything done that you want to. Every time people tell me that they bought it because of me, I'm like, I fully support the tool and I love it and I think it's great and I use it for now multiple games, but I get very concerned when people say that I had any impact on them whatsoever because I'm a dummy. But that's fine. What is your campaign, element user? And is anybody using anything other than D&D, like 5th edition? Yep, using Cloudflare as my registrar in DNS, so I can just add a subdomain and then set my Nginx server as a reverse proxy. Man, I cannot speak. Cloudflare is great. The quickness of the turnaround on applying A records is honestly insane. Like, I've been a web developer professionally for 7 years. And I remember getting started and like when you would update DNS, it would say like, this could take 24 to 48 hours to actually like propagate and update across the web. And it was real. Like, it actually took that amount of time for it to fully propagate. Now they'll say that, but like Google domains, SiteGround, like Namecheap even, all those people, like your A records are going to be updated within like an hour most of the time. It's so much nicer than it used to be for stuff like that. And Cloudflare's fast. Are there rooftops in DungeonDraft for designing street maps? There is not built-in assets for rooftops. There are custom assets available that include rooftops, though, so you can build them that way. For example, an item that casts Scorching Ray with a spell attack bonus of +5. From what I understand, you have to use an ability modifier for the attack roll and can't input flat values. You might be able to in the item. No, I meant to go to the compendiums. Let's do a little check-see. What do I want to check for? Wand of Fireballs. Or no, Magic Missiles is fun. Does this add anything? This wand has 7 charges. While holding it, you can use an action to expend 1 or more of its charges. Cast them at. For 1 charge you cast the first level, you can increase the spell the wand regains. Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily... So you can... You can change the damage formula, it looks like. Because this isn't imported yet, so I can't actually make any changes, but... Oh, is it because it's a saving throw? I don't actually remember how Wand of Magic Missiles works. You guys are finding me out to be a fraud. Wand of Magic Missiles. Oh, right, Magic Missiles just hits. Ugh. I'm a fool. Let's see. I think all of these are saves. But yeah, it does look like there's an... Here, let me just import this. Yeah, so versus DC, 15... Okay, yeah. So you can add an ability modifier for it. It doesn't look like there's a flat option in here. I have not messed around that much with... Oh, there is an item uses. I was looking at something else earlier that raised a question about that. Here, has anybody said anything else about this? It's more of the out of Foundry stuff, like map making. Running. Connor Dunning, top hat. Under details, I think you can select flat instead of spell casting for a spell attack. Action type. Melee weapon attack, ranged weapon and melee spell attack, ranged spell attack, saving throw, healing, ability check, utility, other. So I don't know exactly what other changes it to, but... Excuse me. Yeah, so you can change it to be ranged spell attack or one of these other things. Wasn't sure if that... There we go. Yeah, so if it's a ranged spell attack, you can do an attack roll bonus and set it to be just a value, it looks like. I'm guessing you can probably also set it to be like an attribute. like at attributes.xp.value, because that's just the first one that I remember. Thank you, Connor. I appreciate that. Yeah, so it does look like you can add an ability, either an ability modifier or a flat attack roll bonus here. So that should be an answer for that. This is how I figure out everything, folks. Just stumbling through it and asking a bunch of other people until I can piece it together. So let's rewind a little bit. I'm happy with the tool. It's more the out of Foundry stuff that I'm more concerned about, like map making. Yeah, map making. Speaking of which, and I do have other map making videos for basics for DungeonDraft. They were the first videos that I ever made. Worse camera, or same camera, but no lights, and worse microphone, so a little hard to listen to now. But they are still useful. I've been actually thinking about redoing all of my, I think my first 5 or 7 Foundry Basics videos from before I started doing them better, so to speak. But I wasn't sure if people would be annoyed if I was uploading updated versions of them, because it's also different now that Foundry has released that Basics Part 1 video is not accurate any longer. It's not a Patreon software anymore. But whatever. You know what? Let's add some other objects to this so that it looks a little bit different. Just put a few things in a couple spots. They also sell hammers. Put some food on some of the shelves, that kind of stuff. It's a very odds and ends kind of store. I don't think they'd sell rocks, but maybe they'd sell crystals. Let's make this a brighter color and see if we can put this over, but have it, yeah, I can put that there, cover up some of those scrolls just so it looks a little different. You can put a broom. Yeah, we'll have a nice 18-foot broom. I don't really like the way that looks, so maybe we won't do that. I'm running an old 3.5 campaign that has been converted to 5th edition. It's called War of the Burning Sky. That's a cool name. How was the transition from 3.5 to 5? I used to play 3.5, but I didn't convert anything to 5th edition. I just went clean into 5th edition. And I didn't like 4 very much. I never actually got to play it. I just theory played it. But I like 5 a lot. It's very different than 3 or 3.5, but I like it a lot. It's a little less painful in some ways. Let's see. We will have a chest back here that'll have their money, something like that. Let's put some paintings on the walls. And this will eventually be the kids' room, because I gave Diana, who is Callista's sister, painter's tools, because that could be fun. So we'll have some of her paintings up in the walls. We're just going to do a little bit of just like placing things around. And we'll make this look a little bit messed up in here. Like we'll have a toppled over chair. What else could we have? Broken table, just to add a little bit of atmosphere to the room. Another broken one over here. Ooh, this music is very peaceful. This is from the Humble Big Music Bundle, if anyone is curious. I don't know if it's still available through Humble Bundle, but it is available on, I think, the Unity Asset Store. I'm glad that I could convince somebody else to spend money for you, Michael. Planning on using Foundry for a Savage Worlds game. I don't actually. I talked to somebody a couple weeks ago about Savage Worlds, but I don't know that much about it. Is it extremely different from D&D, or is it like a different world but similar rules? I got a little bit of an explanation on it, but not too much. My campaign is D&D 5e, and we haven't started yet. Oh my god, I don't know how to read. I just completely lost my place. My campaign is D&D 5e and we haven't started yet, but I have a general plot of doing something similar to Golden Sun with a spinoff. I played a Golden Sun game on the Game Boy when I was a kid, but it has been a really... I think it was Golden Sun. I could be wrong. Golden Sun Game Boy? I think? Yeah, this looks... Yeah. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. I haven't thought about that in 15 years, probably. When did this game come out? 2001. 19 years ago. Yikes. I don't know if anybody else feels that when they look at 2001 as a release date and realize it's 19 years ago, but that's how I feel. But that should be fun. It's a lot of fun, especially if you're trying inspiration from things that your players don't know. I have been doing that a not insignificant amount. And like the character that I'm playing in my friend's campaign is like very heavily inspired, kind of accidentally, by Inigo Montoya from The Princess Bride. Like I started working on the character and like piecing it all out, and by the end I was like, oh my god, I just made a Tabaxi version of Inigo Montoya. But I love him in that movie, so I don't feel bad about it. Check Circlet of Blasting. Oh, I think that was about, I'm not sure if I'll have that, if it's not in the SRD, but I can check. Circle, oh, it is in here. Cool. Yeah, so attack roll bonus 5, range spell attack. Cool. I'm glad to have that confirmed. Good, 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 good. More videos are better, even if they're about the same thing, Trev. I will say, since they're already written, it won't break up the release cycle of other videos, I don't think. But who knows? Well, thank you all for your help. I'm more or less the same with solving my issues. Yep. Michael Lively, damn, beat me to it. Yeah. Circlet of Blasting, that's a good one to pull out. I just like the name. I couldn't remember the name of the spell it casts, Scorching Ray. Yeah. For your cocky players, have a wizard throw a Pokeball with a party of Tarrasques, all fully buffed. I don't even know that you need a full party of Tarrasques. One of my earliest tweets actually involved something about a Tarrasque. So if you guys want stupid information in your Twitter feeds, you can follow me. Twitter.com/EncounterLib. Thank you for your username limits, Twitter. But if any D&D fans were wondering what the maximum amount of dice you can roll in Foundry Net is, it's 100 D1000. If that was rolled for max damage, it could kill a max health Tarrasque 101 times, Tiamat 900 HP 111 times, and a Flumph 8,333.3, repeating of course, times. And this was just a picture of me trying to figure out how many dice I could possibly roll. And that's the answer. No one liked that tweet, I don't think. So actually, if you can roll 100 D1000, then you can throw an entire party of Terras at them. You should actually throw multiple parties of Terras at them. And you're right, Evian, it is very hard to find people, or I'm sorry, not Evian, Winx. It is hard to find people that do sci-fi assets. I know Zalk and I in the Patreon, or not the Patreon, in the DungeonDraft Discord has done some. I think Devin Knight has done some. But I don't think he's on Patreon, so you may not have found him. Yeah, other than that, I don't really have an awful lot to offer you. Unfortunately. Let's put some stuff on top of these. These bookshelves, like a bird. Let's just have a cat. I don't think that will probably stay there, but we'll have it there for now. We can have some rope up on one of these. I just want to fill it out with like a little bit more stuff because it feels a little empty. Yeah, a little toy. Actually, that could be in one of their rooms. I can go full Empire Strikes Back, and when Callista finds it, it's her own face, like when Luke is fighting Vader. That would be fun. More things that I can steal from Star Wars. Shouldn't probably have just food up there. Just some papers or something is fine, though. Just kind of mix and match those. Those probably shouldn't have shadows on. It'll look better without shadows, but oh well. It's a 12 adventure level 3 to 20 campaign. Transition is solid, though if you have clever players like I do, you'll have to come up with better encounters than what they suggest in the books. Yeah, I found that because I started with Lost Mines of Phandelver because I had some friends that wanted to play soon, and I didn't have enough time to prep my homebrew campaign. And so I just was like, okay, I'll do Lost Mines of Phandelver. Everybody seems to think that's great. And I found that opening like couple fights, like you fight the handful of goblins in the first area, and then all of a sudden you're fighting through an entire cave of them, and they're level 1. They have like maybe 3 spell slots between them or something if they're casters. Very little health and an awful lot of goblins. I thought that was a little rough, but then ever since then, things have been probably on the too easy side. And I've been taken to amping things up a fair bit. Let's add some beds. I think if I just change this to tavern, I should be able to find a bed easier. Yeah. So one thing that keeps coming up kind of consistently is, you know what, they're going to have a small double bed that they're going to have to share, is that when something really bad is going on, the color is light blue. So I'm going to use a light blue. They're halflings, so this is a 6-foot long bed. That's more than enough for a halfling. I really like having like the grid actively visible because I use it to logic my way through how things should be sized quite a bit. And it's really helpful in that regard. And then we'll have a bed like that for the parents over in this room. And we'll have a couple of barrels. Over here. 4 barrels. So not actually a couple, but Golden Sun was one of my favorites. I could see that. Love your Foundry VTT videos you've been doing so far. They have been a real asset in helping me get started with D&D sessions. Thank you, Greg. Is this your first time playing or DMing D&D, or just getting started with D&D sessions? Because I do eventually want to make some content that's more about the DMing side of things. Not that I'm an amazing DM or anything like that, but I hope that I have an ability to explain things in a way that can make them more approachable. And a lot of DMing doesn't feel extremely approachable. And so one of the things that I'm doing in making these maps is I'm also releasing all of these maps for free to everybody. And if anybody needs the link to the map that we made at the end of the last stream, feel free to let me know. And I'm trying to write up what I'm doing for the encounter so people can get an eye for like how they could go about working on an encounter, or just completely using that idea and reskinning it to their campaign, because that's 100% valid and a good way to get started. So I'm trying to be more open with like how I write campaigns, because I don't know that there's a lot of like honest stuff out there that's not very pre-made, or I'm sorry, not very pre-made, that's not premeditated, where somebody's like spent 30 hours coming up with something and then they're like, so this is how all encounters should be, and I just came up with this as we were writing this article. As you can tell, I'm kind of like struggling through this and just like looking through things for inspiration and placing them as I find them. So this should actually be on a higher layer above walls, because I want the top of the ladder to peak above it so that the perspective will make it a little bit more clear what's going on. And that you can go... that this goes up. There we go. That should be fine. I would say Savage Worlds is very different. It's more pulpy and easy to run. It's a generic system that is meant to be used however you see fit. Very easy to hack or change to fit your setting. A lot of modifiers to keep track of, though, so it's got its own silly level of crunch that doesn't agree with everyone. I can understand that. Like, I was kind of into the crunch when I was younger, and I still like a little bit of crunch. But I'm not a min-maxer. I tend to give my characters their abilities, their ability scores, and their feats and things in a way that lines more up with their story and who I think they are, than I do the actual number crunching, min-maxing aspect of it all. But I totally respect people that are super into the min-maxing, so long as they're not trying to bend and break rules and stuff. If they're going with the spirit of the game, I really like it. Trial and error to test the limits of software, 100%. I certainly wish there were more sci-fi modern assets out there too. Would have made running Shadowrun a lot easier a few years ago. I honestly don't even know how I would have run... I couldn't have run D&D to the level that I do now a few years ago, because things like DungeonDraft didn't exist. Like, I was just drawing things on battle maps, and it's not nearly as satisfying as having something like this. And I actually think that to an extent, virtual tabletop gaming is more immersive than it is to be at an actual table. It doesn't have the same energy or the vibe, but in terms of getting into the character, getting into the scene that's set in front of you, the fact that it's in high resolution on a screen directly in front of you and it's inches away from your face is very engrossing. And I found that it's extremely easy to like look at things and be like, this is what this scene is. I find it easier to come up with the descriptive terms to fill a scene out when I can get zoomed in on it to this level, and I can look at things I placed and be like, you see this yada 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 is around. This sense of dread comes in, and there's music that is pumped into everybody's ears directly in. It's very immersive, and I like that a lot. And that's one thing that I'm not looking forward to if we do go back to an in-person game, or at least partially in person, is that part of that immersiveness will be broken. But you do get the benefit of being there in person and like vibing together and that kind of stuff. But kind of different strokes for different folks. I don't remember what I was talking about before I said that. Oh yeah, Shadowrun. I was talking to somebody about Shadowrun yesterday because they made fun of me for saying you can only use, or who needs more than 20 dice when you're rolling in that Dice So Nice video. And And they said, you've clearly never played Shadowrun. And they told me that Shadowrun will frequently have you rolling upwards of 30 and 60 dice at a time. And so you know what? We're going to use this kind of middle zone as a storage room for the normal shop. Bedroom here, bedroom here. This is where the two kids are. This is where the adults are. And let's put some stuff in this object area. We'll do some other barrels. You don't need a 5-foot tall barrel. We'll turn snapping back off, set this to be back to user layer 1 because I don't want these popping up above the wall. That is one problem with DungeonDraft I found, is that sometimes I forget to turn stuff like that off. Oh, I don't want it to go under all of that. Okay, I'll just put another one here. So we've got a big stack of barrels. There should be some like sacks. Yeah, we'll put some sacks over here. And we'll put one kind of like spilled out. We'll do that under there. Change this back to over. Pop some stuff up here. Ooh, change that to a different color. That looked real unpleasant. Place that there. Just get some miscellaneous stuff. Get that all placed. What are some epic boss fight soundtracks? Whatever your favorite video game is, whatever they use in that boss fight is great. Whatever the vibe for your game is, like, I don't use it anymore because I record my game just in case I want to post parts of it online, which I have done a little bit of. So I use music that I actually have the rights to. But I would use like the Diablo 2 soundtrack when fighting Baal or Diablo. The Pathfinder soundtrack is really good. Pretty much all of Blizzard's like older games have good soundtracks. Mass Effect is good if you're doing a sci-fi or Shadowrun kind of thing, because it's more space adventure-y. But for like medieval stuff, any of those games like Skyrim soundtrack, even though I don't really like Skyrim, the soundtrack is still good and usable. Any of those, Final Fantasy actually has some pretty good boss music in it, so I'd recommend taking a look at that. Sephiroth. God, that was a hard sound to try to make. I don't know how to sing that Sephiroth song, but you should just do that. Yes, first time DMing for me getting started, and I decided to try Lost Mines of Phandelver also, which just so happened to be what you did in your videos. Yeah, absolutely. Lost Mines of Phandelver is a good start. My players liked it. It's very good. If you've never DM'd before and your players haven't played before, it's very good at teaching you the kind of things that you can do, because it'll set you up to like try to perception check, to try to make a skill check to navigate through the woods. It teaches you what skill checks are in the first few steps, and then it has you do combat over and over so that you can try to figure combat out. You can figure out like how to stealth and that kind of thing. Just be sure to kind of prod your players towards certain directions if they don't know how to play, and they don't necessarily know what they can do. That's something that I could have done better when I was teaching my current players how to get going, is I could have indicated them more like, do you want to just go guns blazing, or do you want to try to sneak in? That's getting that kind of clarification is probably worthwhile if they haven't played before. Anyway, 3 a.m. in the UK for me. I'm off to bed. Oof, that's late, Greg. I hope if you're still here, good night. Hope everything goes well. Best of luck. I'll hopefully see you in another stream or something. If you've got any questions about Lost Mines of Phandelver, it's still very fresh in my mind, and I can tell you any kind of how I worked out of Lost Mines of Phandelver from there if you want to keep the adventure going. Nier has some top tier music, yeah. 100%. Especially if you have a gunslinger. I started to DM this year, a couple one-shots in January and February, and started an online camping in quarantine. Online campaign in quarantine recently. Started with Roll20, but I'm migrating to go Foundry, and find your videos helped a lot. Thank you. You're welcome, Alophilia. I hope that they were helpful, and I hope that the game goes well. I know it can be a little hard to transition from Roll20 for some people. Be sure to check out the Roll20 converter if you haven't already. If you need help getting your game converted from Roll20 over to Foundry. So I think this is probably enough stuff for this building. So let's go into I'll come out and we'll fill in the bedrooms a little bit more later with some more stuff once we have a better idea of what we're doing. But I'll think about where we want to put that in a minute. Actually, let me get caught up on the chat, because if people are going to bed and stuff, I want to be able to say farewell. I'll for sure check it out. Need some fresh tunes for the players. Yeah. There you can go to my profile and find a ton of playlists from combat to moods to monster themes. Yeah, that's really good. That's one thing that would be useful in Foundry, to be able to import YouTube playlists. I feel like at one point I read about something where you could do that, but I can't seem to find it anymore. LOL, 60 dice in Shadowrun. Yeah, it does feel like that, but honestly, it's more like 15 to 20 dice, depending on how much leveling you can get in. Well, that's good to hear, because I was thinking about starting a Shadowrun campaign, because my wife and her best friend, who are both players in the game, are utter dice goblins. They just hoard dice. And so having a game where they could actually use all of them could be fun. But they both love medieval fantasy, so I don't know if I could get them to go towards Shadowrun anyway. My dungeon draft crashes constantly. You know what? You saying crashes is actually a very good point, because that is something that happens. So I'm going to save this real quick. Just going to call it the shop for now. Just in case it does crash, so I have a backup, because it definitely can crash, and some people have really terrible luck with it. Where is this Roll20 converter? Kakaroto makes it, who also runs the Forge, and is generally a super cool Foundry person. Kakaroto Foundry Roll20 converter. That should be enough to get you going. I don't remember if it's stuck behind a Patreon wall. I don't think that it is. Roll20 converter. Let's see. The module is paywalled. Okay, yeah, so I was wrong. So if you subscribe to Kakaroto, you get... I think it looks like it might have to be at the player tier. And it can convert basically your whole campaign from Roll20 over to Foundry, and is really cool. And he has a Discord that you can join if you have any problems or anything like that. Also, Dungeon Draft question. What's the best way to show elevation differences, in your opinion? It doesn't have assets like cliff pieces, but that I would see in Dungeon Painter Studio on Steam. Or did you get my tip? It's not showing up for me, and I want to make sure you got it. I do not think so. I don't know if that comes in differently than a super chat or not, and I actually don't even know how to check. But if it did come in or if it didn't come in, thank you exceedingly, or thank you entirely. Just for the thought. I appreciate it a huge deal. So thank you very much. And let me... and regardless of a tip or anything like that, you don't have to ask a question or anything. To your Dungeon Draft question, I have a somewhat terrible video about showing elevation, showing depth and scale with layers, materials, and objects in Dungeon Draft. I don't know if y'all can tell if I'm a developer or not, but I do not have the marketing brain to write these titles in a useful way or make engaging thumbnails. But this video will take you through, here, let me mute this. Oh my God. Very old, very embarrassing. Starting with kind of like a ground level thing, and then where you only have one level of stuff, and then kind of adding sand around a lake, and then how you can place items within the lake to give it some additional texture, and then eventually start using other material brushes that have their layers set to be below water, placing in a dinosaur, and then using materials to kind of make it look more like it crash landed there, and then kind of placing objects in different places around the map. Where's the next? Oh yeah, using more rocks underneath the water layer to give more height. And then you can change over to a higher layer with a material brush and use this stone brush and cover it with some of the grass material to make it look like there's a cliff overhang. And then using different levels of light are all good options. And just all that kind of stuff. Those are all good options. Another useful thing that I can point out is, say in this scene, I wanted to show more of a height difference between this zone and here. I might go and grab an object that could be on both levels, like these barrels, for example. Make them small here, kind of place them around, and then on the second layer, place the same object, but a little bit bigger. And so we can place those there, and if we zoom back out, it looks decently like these are on different levels. And then also using things like ladders to place them physically over different levels. You want to pay a lot of attention to your layers, basically, is what the trick is. This might be too big. It looks a little cartoony, but a smaller size would probably be more impactful. And then you also could use light is an excellent way to do it. One thing that I've done in another map, let me see if I can find it. DungeonDraft maps. Hold on, well, nope. It looks like maybe I don't have the map anymore. Oh, I posted it in the DungeonDraft Discord. Maybe I can find it there. From user. I don't know why Discord does this sometimes. It just doesn't work. XD. Now, or I guess I should do in map sharing. XD. Yeah, like normally it changes that to make it more clear what you're doing. And actually, maybe it wasn't in map sharing. Maybe it was in map help. But XD. Nope. Nope. Yeah, so I'm a little out of luck there. But I did a stage where the front of the stage was walled off, and there was a big bright spotlight that covered the entirety of it, and then there was darkness in the kind of front area. So that's another thing you can do. I don't think any of my other maps really have much examples of height differences, but those are some of the things. Those are some options. Lots of layers, basically, is what it comes down to. I think the Roll20 converters, yeah, Top Hat's right. Jeff T, yeah, you found on GitHub, or maybe, I wonder if there are any good dice pool based fantasy games. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know if I can either. I honestly haven't played that many other games. I've played D&D 3.5, 5th edition. I played All Flesh Must Be Eaten, and I also created my own version of D&D that I called Ghettos and Gangs, and was based on an ultra serious gang situation where the goal was to tag different parts of town in a turf war kind of situation. But guns were extremely deadly. Like if a gun came out in a situation, a character was most likely going to die. And just two opposite gangs interacting with each other and trying to deal with a corporate invasion into their territory that was going to cause more problems for the people that live there. That was back in high school. So I haven't played that many other systems than D&D. It is behind, yeah, it's behind the $5 tier. I think all of y'all beat me to realizing that information, but I'm reading the chat slowly. What's a good resource for dumping a lot of tracks into Foundry? I'm just searching for music and effects, not sure where to go without shelling cash out. I believe I bookmarked this, and I'll post it in the chat in a second. Yes, I did. So I mentioned this in one of the videos. Sonus has game audio, like Foley sounds that they release each year for the Game Developer Conference, and they release it commercial, royalty free, and it's like free to use. You don't have to buy it or anything. And this user was kind enough to download all of it and resize or like re-render it so it was smaller, because it was originally like 60 or 80 gigs, and now it's like 4. And so I would recommend you can go here and you can download it from their drive and kind of like find the files that you're looking for. Use those. I have one of them in my game here. And it's not in this one. It's in my actual game over here, in my wind. So like this wind, let me pause this music. Oh, I'm sorry, my cat's meowing. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I didn't realize she had gotten trapped in here. So she should be safe to roam the house now. But like this wind sound effect is from there. I think I have some other, I think in my spooky playlist, I think some of these sounds are from there. I don't know if that's audible to you all, but and then this. Yeah, so that's just like a sound effect. I've got some water sound effects somewhere. There's a lot of sound effects in there, probably more than you'll ever really need. So that would be my recommendation for something to check out. Also, I decided to check how Super Chat works since I saw Google took the money. Apparently, it'll show up in your Google payments in a few days since you can't cash out with less than 100. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot. There is no requirement to Super Chat or donate or anything like that. I really appreciate it, though. It's very kind. And actually, and if sorry, stutter gets a little bad sometimes when I'm nervous. If anybody prefers Twitch or anything, let me know, because I do have a Twitch account. I'll post it in the chat too, twitch.tv/encounter library. And I would like to build up my followership on Twitch, just so that if anything happens to my YouTube account, especially since they got mad about me having music that I can use in this stream, I would like to not have all of my eggs in the YouTube basket. So if anybody wants to check out the Twitch and follow over there, that would be cool. I started streaming there originally, but nobody knew, and I didn't have access to community posts in YouTube yet, so I couldn't make a post about it for people to come watch. And I didn't want to upload like a temporary video to alert people, because I thought that would be a little scummy. But you can follow on Twitch, and eventually if the user base gets reasonable enough over there, I'll probably start streaming there, or at least streaming to Twitch and YouTube at the same time. So I'm not sure if my bandwidth can handle that. As for the chat that went along with it, I'll just reiterate my thanks for doing a detailed tutorial on Foundry and DungeonDraft when nobody else could. You deserve more subs for that kind of logo. I thank you very much. It was a lot of work. I've been debating starting to track my hours when I'm working on these videos and stuff, but I'm worried about how crazy the hours are going to be. But it would be fun information to have. It's at least several hours per video, a lot more in the beginning. Kind of crazy to me that the people who make the product don't put out the tutorials themselves since it's their product. Sounds like basic marketing. Yeah, it does seem like it would be something that they would want to do, but I can understand focusing on the core product and hoping that the community will pick up the slack. And I don't mean slack in a negative way. And so I'm happy to fill that gap. And actually, one other thing that you can do is use different, to your question earlier, is use different floors. So one thing that I might do is come back up here to the pattern shape tool, change the floor type up here, and replace that. No, that's not the right one. Where's the other? This is slightly frustrating, and I've noticed this before, is I don't think all the patterns are in here, like not all of the wood floor, because there's 2 wood floors and there's only one showing up. So I may have to do the build tool here to actually get that to change. There we go. So that's kind of different. And it looks a little bit more ramshackle in the upstairs area now. And this is the somewhat buggy nature of DungeonDraft, that it didn't do it across the entire place. But having it a little different here and a little different down here, I think also serves to delineate it a little bit. There's also tabletop. Yeah, there's also tabletop audio. And can't hear any music or otherwise. Oh, I paused it to show that other stuff, and then I never turned it back on. Thank you, Vin. And I think somebody said, Jeff T, is it sound effects or music? It is sound effects. There are ambient, like almost music sounding things, but it's mostly sound effects. Here, I have it actually. I think I have it downloaded right now. Or like in a place where I can easily access it at least. Yeah, so here is the 2019 bundle. There's door sounds, electric motors, guitar, sci-fi sound effects. So there's a lot more sci-fi sound effects probably than like graphical assets. Ambisonic crowds. I don't even really know what that means. Alien atmospheres. Electric whooshes. Vehicles. And like, just look at all this, and that's just 1 year. There's a lot more out there. You can multi-stream to Twitch and YouTube, and I've looked at Restream for that, but I'm not sure how the licensing works, and I don't really want to pay like $40 a month for a service to stream to YouTube and Twitch. Like maybe if I had 1 million followers and that kind of thing, but in the current state, I'm trying to kind of like make do without spending more money than I already have on getting all of this stuff running. Or Kevin McLeod and Compotech. Yeah, there are some other good options for sound. Do you have any tips for convincing a non-tech savvy group to switch to Foundry VTT from Rule 20? Honestly, if you're the DM, one way to do it is to say, hey, this is where I'm going to DM. But if you want to be not a jerk about it, showing the things that you're able to do in it compared to Roll20 would be good. I watched somebody did a video showing the same map in Roll20 and Foundry, and how Roll20 was lagging badly for them as they were panning around it, and how it was very quick in Foundry. That's one thing that you can do. Uh, for a player, there's not that much difference. I've never played in Roll20, I don't know. But my friend Kyle, whose game I'm in, is in a Curse of Strahd game on Roll20 and massively prefers Foundry, and that's what he DMs in. Do you run a full virtual game, or do you just use a VTT? By full virtual, do you mean like we're not in person? If so, yes. My wife is normally in her office. I'm in mine, and our friends are in their own separate houses. We don't meet up, especially right now. We may eventually do it partially in person and partially online. One of the friends is 2 hours away and couldn't make it every week for a game in person. But yeah, we use a Jitsi server for audio video. That's not necessary, but I found it to pretty heavily improve quality. And I have some recordings from our game when we weren't using it, and it was like you can tell the difference. It's smooth now. Like there's no frame skips, there's no like freezing or anything like that. It's just way better. That could be just because we have two people in this house that were uploading and downloading everyone's streams when it was peer-to-peer originally. So that could be part of it. And now with with Jitsi, it's like we're both just sending up and then receiving. But the different types of floors are default in DungeonDraft. Most of them. This does have some assets or some asset packs included. Like these are all asset packs, but everything from here up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 of the floors are built in. Do you have any tips for convincing? Oh yeah, I already read that. Do you run a full Yeah. Blackout Games, probably just the speed factor and prettier sheets. Yeah, honestly, for me, I ran screaming away from Roll20 when I was first looking at getting a game online. The user experience was so bad and it was so unclear. And I would watch 2-hour-long tutorial videos on how to use Roll20 and was not impressed or anything by the functionality. And that's when I found Foundry, and I tried Roll20, I tried Astral Tabletop, which I like a lot, but their character sheets are an abomination. They're so ugly. If they would fix that for a very simple VTT where you just want to move tokens around on a map, I would highly recommend it. So Astral is good in that way. And then Foundry, of course. And I tried Map Tool and a few other things like that, and was just not pleased in any way with the results. So for me, it was easy, and my players were like, "Okay, we'll do whatever you say," because none of them had ever used a VTT before. They were not confident in how the experience was going to work, but they've been really thrilled with Foundry. They liked it from the get-go, which was very pleasing. And yeah, Ven's right. I haven't heard from anyone who was like, "Man, I wish I hadn't switched over to Foundry. It's whack." Using some modules to automatically check for concentration checks, target spell, and attacks, and also checking AC and doing the damage is a really good help. Makes it a lot easier for players in Foundry. Yeah, that's a very good point. Pointing out some of the modules and how they can be beneficial to you, like importing things directly from D&D Beyond through VTT assets is really cool. Beyond 20, which granted also works for Roll20, is exceptionally cool. Line of sight improvements, which is automatic and not manual like it is in Roll20. I think it's manual in Roll20. I could be wrong. Because like I said, I did not like it and I left it very quickly. Yeah, modules could be a very good demonstration of how it's cool. Roll tables are great. Tokenizer is cool. Dice So Nice is really great. All of the other rolling options are super cool. Oh, Fat Ninja DM, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much, Fat Ninja DM. What is your icon? I like your icon quite a bit. That's awesome. But thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I think was there something else written earlier? Oh yeah, you did sub to your Twitch. Oh, thank you very much for following on Twitch too. Here, let me turn this on since I've talked about Twitch, and this will be a little nice incentivization for anyone who wants to follow on Twitch. You can have your name in the YouTube video. Sorry for anyone who did it before I put this up. Also, I think it would be really funny to have like 1,000 followers on Twitch, but never have gone live on it, or have only gone live on it once, and all the follows came when I was not live. I just want to trip up some bot detection in Twitch where they're like, what the heck is going on here? But thank you again, Fat Ninja DM. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Oh, another question. I saw 2-minute tabletop asset packs. DungeonDraft came out. Do they have to be imported the same way as your earlier video? So, fun fact about that is if you go to cartographyassets.com, I think this is what it is. Please be it. Yes. There's a whole DungeonDraft section where you can find asset packs that have already been made for DungeonDraft. So you can just you download the DungeonDraft _ asset pack file or whatever it's called. You drop that in your folder, and then you can just automatically add it. And somebody has already done it for, or actually no, it wasn't 2-minute tabletop that they did it for. They did it for Forgotten Adventures. So Forgotten Adventures is already in here. You can see the unofficial Forgotten Adventures, and it's for like all of their different packs. There's a lot of packs in here already. But if you do go to 2minutetabletop.com, please be their website address and not something terrible. Maybe it's the number 2. Yeah. A lot of these do already have DungeonDraft asset pack versions in them. So that could be worthwhile looking at. I think on 2-Minute Tabletop's Twitter, they posted a link to the ones that do already have it. Or is it already set up in here? Yeah. Map making assets, DungeonDraft assets. So you can come in here and find a whole bunch of the tokens where they're already put together into asset pack for you, or asset pack format for you. So that's a good option. Oh, Nathan, Son of the South. I have been looking for an online D&D system, and your videos have helped me a lot. Keep the word. Thank you very much, Nathan. I hope that they have helped. I hope that if you're not already in a game, that you get in a game soon, either playing or DMing, whichever one is your preference. Because it's a lot of fun to play D&D. And every time somebody tells me that the videos help them like get a game of D&D going, it fills my heart with joy. It makes me feel really dumb. But I like it a lot because D&D has always been so fun and so like such a part of my life. The whole fantasy genre has. It makes me really happy to hear that people are able to get into it more because of that. You know what? Let's rotate this. This is one other thing that's slightly clunky with DungeonDraft is finding the right place that you have to click to be able to rotate something. Did you have issues with Compendium? I've heard a lot of people mentioning issues with Compendium importing. I believe Sebastian is nearing an answer to what's going on there. It looks like what's happening is that for some reason the spells compendium specifically is becoming locked at some point in the process. Not clear exactly why, but it looks like maybe something in the world.json file is getting duplicated, which is causing the compendiums to lock. He was looking, if you are having issues with it, if you can, I think it's your world.json file that he needs in his Discord. If you go there and you post it, he can examine it to see if it matches the other files that are coming in. And and hopefully determine what the issue is there. Have you done any videos on custom tagging / tags for assets in DungeonDraft? That's the next thing I need to tackle. I mentioned it a little bit in the What's New in DungeonDraft video that I did for a couple versions ago. I need to do one for the current version because there is some new stuff in here currently. But one of the options is once you've got them imported, you can come into edit object tags. It would probably be worthwhile to put them all underneath a single tag to begin with, so you can just get access to all of the items that you've imported, like 2-minute delightful dwelling, though that didn't actually edit sets. So you can see the sets as well, and filter it that way. Let's switch to another one, like camp. Oh, so it highlights for you. So you could come in, and I think... oh, it probably isn't going to let me do it because I'm in a map currently. But you can add more items to a specific tag by changing to it and clicking the add and like adding more items or removing them. Or you can create new set, or this might let you create a new tag. I can't remember. But that should be the like really rough basics of how to tag things. And you can also, at the end of the custom assets video, I go over in the import what it's looking for in the tag file to separate things. Unfortunately, there's not a super smooth and easy way of doing it in large numbers. Nathan's on this out DMing. Nice. For DMing, you'll at least have better luck. you'll have much better luck getting a game going. As a DM trying to get people in than you would as a player trying to find it. So I'll make this all a little bit askance looking. We'll pull it up a little bit so there's a little more room when you first come in. Thanks so much for the answers. I'll be listening still, but I'll keep quiet for a bit and let you get some writing done. God knows it already takes enough hours as it is. Yeah, you're very right. Very right. Oh my god, it's 10:40. I do have to focus up a little bit, get through this. Y'all gotta stop being so distracting. Okay, so we have this zone done. Let's add a way to get into the cellar in this back area here. So let's just add small 10-foot thing here, place a wall. There we go. We'll find some stairs real quick. I think there's actually a stairs tag or something. So if I change this back to all, I kind of like this better when it was a word cloud. I understand why they did it this way, but or let's do it this way. I also wish that you could clip off things that went outside of the walls. That would be really cool. That'd be a great feature. And that'll probably come eventually. That's not exactly clear that that's a stair. That's a little more convincing. There we go. That'll do. That'll do nicely enough. And thank you, everybody, for watching. It's a lot of fun to do this and be able to talk to other people about it. So we've got that. Let's go ahead and... DungeonDraft would highly benefit from a search bar, 100%. Especially if you could just like control space, start typing, and it would select that object or whatever it is, like search anywhere in Foundry. From fantastic developer Simone. Simone, if you're out there, holla. Simone's really nice. He's in Italy, I think. I don't know what time it is in Italy, but it's probably not a time where he would be watching an internet stream. As opposed to an offline stream, which I think is just real life. That might be all for this part of the map. Should I expand this map? Yeah, let's keep everybody on the same scene, I think. I'm going to expand this map. Change map size. I'm going to make it much bigger out to the right, and that's where I'm going to place the cellar, which will be more of a cave-looking thing, I think. So let's leave enough space. How big was this to begin with? Or how big is this? 5. Change to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So I need at least like 11 more tiles to the right. There we go. This feature is, I'm so happy that this is in here. It's amazing. Okay, so let's do a cave brush. Get this a little big. A cave brushing in is much smoother now. Yeah, so we'll just have like a big fight pit. Except the ground should probably be more of an earthy color than stone. Like, but not orange necessarily. Brown is always such a hard color to find. I guess I could sample a brown. Yeah, there. That was the color sampling tool, people. Use it. It's quite excellent. And actually, let's just go ahead and do basically the same thing for the wall color. But then once we've got it set, we can come in, make it darker. So it looks more like earthen walls than stone walls, because this is dug out into the earth. We don't have to, you can finally open up caves now, which is terrific. For a long time you couldn't do that. So we have this fight pit area down here now. What do we think would be in a fight pit? Let's kind of go through some objects, see what would be fun things to have in the fight pit. You know, if it was like an underground like WWE fight pit, it would be fun to have like some wooden chairs or something that were broken in different places where people had used the chairs to beat other people up. That could be fun. There should probably be some places to rest up if you're all beaten. I don't want to use brown though, because that's going to be too similar to the ground. You know what? We can just make them white and place a few. Let's turn shadows off. Get rid of that last one. Place that. Place that. And these will kind of be like the medical medical zones, and we're gonna put some blood splatters on them. How does that sound? Oh, these are colorable now. That's good. Just some nice. Just curious, why are you using straight walls instead of portals slash doors? Oh, do you mean over here for the stairs? There will be... Oh, why is there cave there? Did I put cave even close to over there? That might have been a weird bug. I'll have to like watch the VOD of this. That was strange. There will be doors here eventually. This part, there's not a door because this is like a loft. But there will be a door here, 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 and then like a door in here as well. I just haven't gone through and placed them. I've had a few issues where DungeonDraft has kind of like overwritten my walls before. And so I tend to save them more for last now. But there will be walls. Just put some blood splatters all over here. Ooh! That's a big one. You misclicked the cave in while using the color. Oh, thank you for catching that. I was very curious as to why that happened. Okay, yeah, so let's swap back to the cave tool and let's change this back to dig cave, try to get rid of that and see if we can place walls back. Not great. Not a great fix for that situation. That's a little better. I could fix it more, but I'm not really that concerned. I don't think anybody's going to pay too much attention to it, but now that I've said that, the first thing that I'm going to hear in the game is, why are these walls so weird? No, they don't sound like that, but... So what other stuff would you have? You could have some graves if it was a very, very messed up fight club. There'd probably be like some spider webs in some different zones. Let's move that above the walls. Kind of like that. I'll put this one back underneath the wall. Gotta turn snapping off. Just put some miscellaneous spider webs around. Yeah, this is another situation where clipping would be very helpful for some of these things. Okay, yeah, that's good enough. We're not going to put an actual spider or anything, though. Probably a big water basin. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So we'll grab big bathtub, put that over here. I wish that I could color the water in that a little bit. I wonder what would happen if I did put some water over it. Nothing. That didn't really do much. Yeah, so that, I guess I could, that would work, I guess. Let's try this real quick. We're gonna place that there, and we're gonna grab the object tool. We're gonna grab that basin again, and we're gonna set it to be below the water. Huh. So it's appearing underneath that because the water does not punch through the cave. Okay. Yeah, so that's not gonna work actually. Let's just get rid of that water then. We'll leave the water basin, and it'll just be fine that it's not bloody. It'll just be old stagnant water. You and I had the same idea, Olophilia. Since there's a little bit of a delay, I didn't get it until after I'd already tried it, but our brains, they're intertwined and thinking the same thing. Maybe another, oh wait, this needs to be set back to, oh, I should have just not set it below ground. I should have set it to below that. I'm so dumb. All this time using all of this software, and I still just dumb. So let's try this again, just to see if I was maybe giving DungeonDraft an unfair shake. Yeah. So it's not perfect. I'm gonna try to refine the water placement a little bit, and we'll see. So that's... Oh. Huh. At certain zoom levels, you can zoom through the ground. That's interesting. That is probably not on purpose. Part of the issue with the water tool is that it is not precise to the brush, because it's kind of random, but... So let's just go ahead and get rid of that. It was a perfectly valid option. Unfortunately, fate has sided against us in this circumstance. So we'll go back to the object tool, place this back on the normal user layer, get that right there. Hi, nice live stream. Thank you, Sergio. I think you were in the last stream, or maybe it was someone else named Sergio. What about the polygon? Yeah, the polygon could actually work. Am I going to try this a third time? Yeah, we're going to try it a third time, folks. Let's see. Dang it. All right. That works pretty good. That worked pretty good. I wish you could move water afterwards. I guess doing the polygonal tool would probably be the best bet. And then just arcing it. I was hoping I could get away with using the circle tool, but you try to save a second, you lose a minute. It's the way of things. There we go. Bloody bucket. I have no idea if it was worth the time investment, but but it is working now. I got Foundry and DungeonDraft, but should get DungeonDraft tomorrow. Not too sure how it works yet. I understand that there's a lot to it. I hope you have fun with it tomorrow too. It's a lot of fun. I really have enjoyed just messing around with it, even for stuff that I wasn't ever going to use. I have a question about Foundry. How to do a server invite to invite player. So the basic way that works is not a way that I can immediately show on stream without giving away my IP address. Give me 1 second though. So first off, you'll want to come to the settings menu over here on the right hand side. And then there is the invitation links button down here. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull this over here. Open my favorite program, MS Paint. And where's a brush? I need a big fat brush to hide my data from you rapscallions. Okay. So once you click on that button, it'll bring you to this game invitation links that will have the local network and the internet option. If they're in the same house as you, connected to the same network, you'll want to click on the local network one. That should automatically copy it to your clipboard, I believe. Let me double check. Yeah, it does. So that copies it. If they are not in the same house as you, you'll want to copy the internet link, send that to them. If they can't connect, then you've got a little problem. It's probably a port forwarding issue, but it can be other things, like a firewall or an antivirus or something like that. And for that, you're going to want to go to a site like... where is it? I think it's canyouseeme.com. Nope, it's not canyouseeme.com. It's canyouseeme.org. That's what it is. And you're going to want to check port 30,000, which is the default port. If you have changed the port number, then you'll have to enter that port number. Enter that and hit check port, and it should see, or it will try to see if it can see your computer on that port. And if not, then you're going to want to look up your router and how to port forward it. That's the basics for inviting a player. Or you can host on Foundry server or the Forge. You can align circles eyeballing the first click, aligning perfectly the second, and if the first eyeball is wrong, just undo without moving your mouse and doing it again on the other direction. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That's a very sneaky tip that I'm going to try to remember, because I always get frustrated working with circles. Because I guess I just have a square brain. Um, pit fight, pit fight, pit fight, pit fight. What else can we put into a pit fight? An oven. Yikes. That is not a good first, a mine cart. Oh, I could put something like a, what are they called? A wheelbarrow kind of thing that they use to like drag the people over here. That could work. Not a lot of gold. They were poor, so not that. Shouldn't have a bunch of skeletons, I don't think. Oh! Or I could put... Maybe I'll go super dark on it, because Callista's parents died of a flu essentially that was going through, and this was before COVID. We started this campaign 9 months ago, so this is not just a character made in poor taste. This was written a long time ago. They died of a flu-like thing that kind of coursed through their city. And they had been total badasses. They'd been like kind of piratey. They were like anarcho-socialists leading revolts against the wealthy. And they kind of settled down in this port city where they'd gone to port quite a lot when they decided to have children, and they kind of set up this shop with things that they'd taken and then turned it into kind of like a general store. And so they were these like total badasses who went out in a very badass way, just to kind of show that like not everybody has a crazy cool death or is killed by the BBE, by the big bad evil guy. I've write that so much that I try to say it now. But yeah, so let's put like some broken chairs in here. I might change this to be like a gray or brown, because a lot of this furniture is starting to blend in pretty heavily. We could have some broken pillars that they were using to hold up, or these wooden pillars would probably be better. So let's, if I want these to be like a 8-foot tall pillar, they should be roughly that big. So let's, and these are just like supports. I'd have kind of like fallen down. I'm not really sure how I like. Oh, it might be because I have shadows turned off, and those would probably be a reasonable thing to have cast shadows. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. I wish that there were more options for how this was broken. If you want to be morbid, make it a dark reddish brown from all the soaked in blood. Yeah, that's a fitting idea. Or no, I don't need terrain brush. I need the cave brush back. Or actually, I think I need to just the select tool. Because normally with the select tool, it will let you alter choices that you have made. Maybe not with the cave brush tool. Maybe I have to go back to the cave brush tool for this. And then we change the ground color to go a little redder. I'm not sure how to get the kind of brown that I'm looking for. Huh. Brown is a real hard color to make. Especially like a reddish brown. That kind of... You know what, we'll do that, and what we're going to do is we're going to start messing with light a little bit. We need to set the environment lighting here to not be bright white. Try, oh, coming in with the hex codes for me. All right. Let's see what we got here. I guess a color can't be offensive, can it? So I'm okay to just enter user input here. It's still very red. I'm hesitant to have that much red. I'd rather it be a little unrealistic looking. Or you know what I might do? I might make it brown and then put a red light in here. A red light could work. But first let's do a little bit of environment lighting, because this lighting is part of why things don't look good. Once you start doing almost anything with light in DungeonDraft, it really improves once you start getting things a little darker. I think I might just make it darker and then add more atmospheric lighting around. Yeah, so like let's try with a, that might be too dark. I get what you mean, Black Cloud. I've had some issues where I was like, oh, this color is going to be amazing, and then I popped it into DungeonDraft, and it doesn't seem like it's the same color sometimes. And I'm not sure what's going on with that. Color is complicated. I understand that enough. Which asset for the ground? This is from Mike Schlee's, one of his Schlee asset packs. I can't remember if, I think it's one of the ones on Pro Fantasy. It's cobblestone. You can get a similar look with some of the other textures and materials though. Yeah, so the question is, do I want this to be, let's put it back at brown and try to do a light overlay of red. Like a darker red. I don't really like what it does to the walls. But maybe if I just place it around. Part of it might be the one that I'm using. Let's try a more like even light. That's not bad if I place a couple of them around. That's pretty red. Oh, somebody else posted a color. Let's try that too. Cave brush, ground color. 9F3220. Yeah, that's pretty bright. Let's try a brown light on top of that red and see if that does anything. I've done a fair bit of like photography and videography and stuff like that, but I'm by no means a color expert, so it's still just very, very red. Or no, I keep coming back to the wrong place. Oof, that's too dark. That's like a good color. This is like a little purpley. 854E33. Let's see what Rodrigo is recommending. Thank you, Rodrigo, for coming in with a color choice too. Let's see. That's a good brown. Like I'd lean towards that probably more than the others. Maybe with a little light over it. Like a white light even. Just to make it look a little browner. Yeah, because then there's still more difference than there is with that. It doesn't necessarily look bloody, but let's try it with like a red. That might be just too red. Let's try bright. No, it's too much. Let's try it where there's like way more white in it. Try a green light with red ground. That's a good point because that does kind of counteract. It makes it look spooky. Like I really like that color, but it's not exactly what I'm going for. Like, I guess I should try a different green. I shouldn't just blanket say that doesn't seem to be working. It definitely does, like, add a spooky element to it, but not quite. Reddish brown's a hard color. What about dark blue? Let's try a dark blue light. Is that even doing anything? There we go. Yeah, it adds too much of the color. I get exactly where you're all going, or what y'all are going for, and it's smart. I wouldn't have thought of it by myself. But I do think that it's not quite mixing the way that I would want it to. Let's keep it at this color just because it's at least a different enough brown that this looks a little better. And I also, this is on my less color accurate monitor. If I pull this over here onto my more color accurate monitor, it definitely looks better. Okay. And some of those all might have looked better than I was seeing. I have an LED monitor and I have an IPS monitor, and I do everything on the LED because it's 1080p, so the sizing is correct and I don't have to reformat anything. But the color accuracy is just the worst. I really hate it. I need to upgrade it, but I'll want to get another 1440p monitor. Okay, let's... So we got this nice and dark and spooky. Let's place some lighting in here. This is too much. I love just like moving around and watching the light spill out in different directions. I find it so satisfying. I really like this style too, where it's multiple things, or where it's like multiple rings going outwards. Let's see. How do we want to have the lights set up in here? Probably just candles. It doesn't... Not everything has to be horrifying. So let's find some... I think candles are at the top, actually. Yeah, not a real big fan of how candles look in DungeonDraft either. They're not bad, but they're not terrific either. I wish that I had like a... This is almost what I would prefer it to look like. Not quite like that, but straight down. I can understand where it'd be hard to do a candle, though. So let's actually try the scatter tool. If anybody hasn't seen this, it kind of will just like automatically switch between different lights. Or not different lights, but different objects that you've selected. And if it's colorable as well, you can also change the... you can add multiple colors for it to pick from when it's placing them. So that's really cool. If you haven't done much with DungeonDraft, that's a fun tip. There we go. None of these are colorable though, so it's not going to make a big difference. I have always kind of like seen their shop as kind of a curio shop, so having just a lot of candles all over the place, I think is not totally out of line for how I've seen them. I just wish I had more candle assets, you know? Oh, I placed a staircase over here too. That was not intentional. So we'll just put some candles in different places. Nice and spooky. That kind of makes it look like a different candle if I do it that way. That does too. And you can use shift plus your scroll wheel to kind of skip through. So just place some of that there. Just to give some of these a slightly different look. And then let's place a bunch of lights. Why don't we? These are probably more light than a candle would give off, but that's okay. Because this is a nightmare. And so one other thing we're going to do is we're going to add walls underneath these objects, I think. So let's go ahead and select all of them. Oh, can you not do it as a group? Oh, that's going to be annoying. Wait a second. I thought if you selected an object, you could change its positioning now. Oh, you can. It's just because I had also selected lights. I should not have placed those lights. Clearly. Let's see if Control Z is going to crash. Let me save first, then Control Z to get rid of all of them. And then we'll select all these and we'll move all of them above walls and then come in, grab the wall tool, and we're just going to set it to be under. That's not necessary, but we're going to do it anyway. And we're just going to place walls where all of these are. And this is going to be useful both for placing our lights here and having the light cast the way that we want, and for line of sight once we get into Foundry. And that looks okay enough to have that base also appear. So let's go ahead and come back to this light and we'll... Oh, the one issue is that it's not... Shaka Khan. Let's see. Let's just place these. They'll light up the areas where they are. And then we'll have some here. So maybe that didn't really make the positive difference that I was hoping for. I like how that happens. Maybe I shouldn't have the lights on top. Maybe I'll just move them all to the ground. Yeah. It'll be weird for them to have all of their lights on the ground, but it's a nightmare. I need to get access to this light. Dang it. I guess I should just zoom in. There we go. That would have solved my problems a lot earlier. So do that. Move this here. Move this here. Move this here. Move this here. Move this one over to the side. Got that. I might try more of the grounds later. I definitely want to try to get through getting this map ready in the next 15 minutes or so. It's about 11:30 over here. And need this for tomorrow. And I still got to plan out some of the character stuff. And I want to talk to y'all about that a little bit too. The candles from Forgotten Adventures look pretty good. Yeah, and I finally went through and I downloaded a bunch of Forgotten Adventure stuff because I am a patron of theirs, but I had never started to move it over to DungeonDraft yet. And so I need to download those asset packs and try those. But this'll be okay for now. Nope, that's not what I wanted to copy. I wanted to copy the light. Move that over there. I wonder if that just goes dead center when you copy and paste a light. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it just goes dead center of the screen. That's interesting. Foundry places it where your cursor is facing. A good asset. Yeah, there are definitely asset packs that have colorable assets, and there's some that have different lighting effects too, which is pretty cool. Anyone use the DungeonDraft importer module? I use it. Mooman was actually he was in the chat for the last stream a little bit, and he's the one that makes the DungeonDraft importer, and I like it a lot. I've been intending to make a video about it, but time. Where does it go? It goes away. Very hard to find time to make videos about all the things that I want to make videos about. But they'll happen. They'll all happen. And I feel bad because I talked to him about it, thinking that I'd be able to get to it sooner than I was able to. Oh, I placed a second floor here. That's why it... Oh, right. Right. I remember. That's okay. That's kind of the effect I wanted anyway. So we'll just leave it that way. Does it work well? Walls and light? Yeah, it works very well. It's slightly more problematic with caves. It's not problematic in that it doesn't work. It works just fine, but it can sometimes make too many wall points. But you can also control that with the module. I'll try to show that once I've finished this. What it looks like when you import something, since this one actually has walls. So let's actually place some doors too, so we can see what that looks like. They're just gonna have some simple wooden doors. I believe there's an option to rotate this because I want the door handle to be outside, because I don't know if you know this or not, but or actually no, I guess it should be the other way, but it looks better to have it this way. Egress points should always open outwards to prevent people from piling up behind each other trying to get out of a place that's on fire. There's been some clubs that opened inwards and people have died trying to get out of them. So that's why there's fire safety codes. That's why doors are supposed to open outwards. Their candles could be on the shelves for explained light sources. Yeah, that's fair. Does it work? What does the importer do as opposed to just adding a DungeonDraft map as normal? Oh, that's very helpful. Appreciate it. Thanks. Saves like 20 minutes of clicking it and unclicking. Yeah. If you're talking about the importer, it will basically take the universal export of your DungeonDraft map and import it in. It will automatically place lights, automatically place walls, automatically place doors, all that good stuff. And then and it'll do the same thing for caves, etc. Will the Foundry program ever go on sale? I'm gonna guess no, since it's a one-time fee. Why not just set walls that don't block light, then slightly further in ones that do? Set the candle / lights between. That could work. That's a very good idea, actually. And I may try to do that after the stream. I might do that tomorrow before the game. I am kind of coming around to having the candles just be like all over the place. It's a little weird. But it would look better if they were on there. And I'm trying to get through this last bit because it's getting a little late. And I only slept a little bit last night. My cat was running around like crazy. Oh, I've got to get rid of this. Where's this stair coming from? And why can't I select it? Oh, am I in the... What? Why does it keep bringing me back to that? Can't select any of the objects. Oh. Because of the pattern tool, I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why that's doing that. Oh, right. About the ever go on sale. One thing I would say is whenever Atropos goes live, he is giving away a key for Foundry. So follow him on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/FoundryVTT. I'll post it in the chat. I believe that's what it is. And so he gives away a key every time he goes live, maybe more, depending on how many people are in there. And you have better chance of winning that than you do a lot of other contests. I think somebody did the math for the last one. It was like a 0.05% chance or 0.5% chance. I guess probably 0.5% because I think there was like 200 people in there. So each person has 0.5%. Why are you placing walls under the tables? Does that impact functionality in Foundry? I was placing walls there because I wanted to have the light get blocked by the objects as opposed to just filling out everything underneath it. It was not really necessary, but I like the light effect that the texture puts on the floor and stuff from DungeonDraft, so I try to do that. But it would probably work better to just have them all on the shelves as expected, and then handle placing the actual light in Foundry. But I like this textured effect. Now I need to have kind of like some torches over here, like a brazier or something. And I think I guess I could just do like big campfires, but that would be a little weird. But I believe there's some more. Yeah, something like this. Big bowl lamps in different, maybe not with the shadows on. Some of the shadows are just so big, but also, I just wish they weren't all so big sometimes. I wish you could control that a little bit. So this is where a lot of the light will be coming, but that's too much. 1 second. My wife was making a cart of dice that she likes. Just all the ones that she likes so she could go through and like try to narrow it down. And by the end of the list, she had like $800 worth of dice in her cart. That's hilarious. She is obviously not going to be buying $800 worth of dice, but that's just how many she saw that she liked. So she sent me a snap of that and then going, okay, so this is mostly figured out. And so what will eventually happen is once this is pulled into Foundry and her and Callista and Diana wind up down here, Magical Darkness, or maybe she'll cast Magical Darkness, grab her sister, and then teleport with her. And then bring her down here. That could be cool with her Shadow Step. Or something like that. And then leave them up here to fight in the shadows. And that'll be cool. So let's actually go ahead and just look at that export real quick and then make a few final decisions about the character and the other things that the main party will be fighting. At least at the beginning. And how? So we're going to do it grid off. 100 pixels I think is reasonable. Lighting on, universal VTT. The focus I haven't fully found a use for. Like I get when it would be useful if you wanted to have it as an underlayer under something else, but I haven't worked on anything quite like that. And there are filters. Ooh, that didn't work the way that I think that it was intended to. There are useful filters in here for anybody that wants to do it on printer paper or on sepia. You could even make like coloring books with this if you wanted to. But we'll just set that. We'll do an export. We'll call this the shop. I'm not really sure of the context. Are you just making 2 maps on one file to run as one scene in Foundry, even though it's more like 2? Yes. The end result will be that either this set of stairs will lead down here, or I'm going to get rid of this at some point tomorrow and just place a giant hole or something like that that they fall through. And this will actually be underneath the map, or is technically underneath this area. The players will start here and probably start inside when I activate this scene. And then some of the fight will be up here and through this area, and then another part will be down here. And actually, maybe I'll make the other players fight down here, and I'll make Callista fight through here with her sister, and she'll have to like fight through these multiple areas of dark, sad, meaningful times, like the bedroom where she used to live with her sister, where her parents lived, through the shop that they spent a lot of time in, and all that stuff. Maybe that would be another option that would be sadder. And then she'll have to somehow use her radiant energy to fight through some of the darkness, and because I want it to be both a role play opportunity and an actual combat opportunity. So I'm working a little bit on how I could integrate those two things a little bit, and I haven't fully decided. But anyway, we've got that exported. Let me see. Do I have this installed in this? This is kind of like my test setup. So let's do a return to setup. Add-on modules. Install module. And we're looking for DungeonDraft importer. Install. Go back to the Unexpected Adventurers. And manage modules. Enabled. Then come back here. Create scene. We'll call it the shop. Actually, oh, right, it's not create scene. Let me delete this. DungeonDraft import, my apologies. So we'll call it the shop. Choose file. Snap, or the shop. In this offset, I think if you hover, yeah, so this parameter nudges cave walls away from the edge to see more of the wall, so that'll make it so like you can see evenly half on each side of the cave wall, but you can change that. You can also change the fidelity, so like the amount of lines that go into making the cave, you can lower it or increase it depending on how much accuracy you want. I'll just leave it at 0 for now. So this beautifully made an icon, or not an icon, a thumbnail. And if we come over here to the wall view, we can see that all those walls that we made and all of those portals, they're already in here. Everything is lined up and touching properly. Even the cave over here has walls around it applied at very reasonable intervals so that it matches the cave but doesn't just obliterate the system. Like, you could reduce some of these down more if you wanted to, but this is pretty good. And for such a small map, this amount of walls isn't going to be problematic. So even if we just came in and we dragged Brainy Boy on in and clicked in, it's already set up with line of sight. Like, the lights are already in here. It's just a really awesome integration. I like it a lot. And we've got doors that we can open and close. Full line of sight through everything. Into the cave. Like, that's just so sick. And it was no effort on my part. It was a lot of effort on his part. So thanks again to Moo Man for making an amazing module for importing DungeonDraft. Oh, and see, you can see I even placed a light over there that I must have forgotten about or missed. We can see that all these lights are placed. We can come in and configure all of these options. All these walls are normal walls. They're not like anything crazy. We can click in, we can make edits, all that. Wow, okay, that's pretty great. Very nice. Yeah, play also for Windows. Oh, I understand what you're saying. You're talking about if you used window portals. You know, that's a good point. I don't know if it changes them to invisible. I imagine it probably does, but he would have to know if it was a window or if it was just a door. And I don't know if there's a distinction in DungeonDraft for that. Like there's clearly a title difference, but I don't know if inside of the JSON if there's a difference. So that's a very good question. I'll have to check that out because I'm gonna make a video on it eventually. I'm gonna note that as something that's worth checking. The person who made it watch your stream. He watched some of the last stream at least, or he wasn't watching it, I don't think, but he was listening in the background and he talked a couple times. And he's in the Discord if you ever have any questions or anything like that. And he was very nice when I was talking to him. And obviously made a super useful module. And so one of the cool things, if you weren't here early on in the stream, is that here's your free whatchamadoogs your free Foundry tip. If you drag out a light and you click into change its settings and you change its bright radius to be negative, you get effectively magical darkness. So if we click in here, we see that a 10-foot radius, this is black. This actually looks really cool. I like how that blends around. It's like a lunar eclipse or something. And no player can see through that. If they have Devil Sight, they should be able to, but there's no good way to make that work. I think Atropos has actually talked about that recently in a live stream. But there's a cool Foundry tip for you. You can create negative light fills by changing the bright value to a negative value. Bam! Magical darkness. That's how I'm going to be placing some of the magical darkness for this fight. Which brings me to the last part of the stream, the last couple things for us to kind of think about and talk about. Close a bunch of this stuff. Ooh. Thank you, everybody. And if anybody wants like random bits of information on Foundry or like important tweets from other people that do Foundry stuff, you can follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/encounterlib because Twitter has username limits. I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to leave... So the 3 feats that we're looking at kind of mainly, this is for a monk. Or do you know how having multiple layers on DungeonDraft affects the export? I've seen people place treetops in a transparent layer over the main layer so ground layer is still visible. Yeah, so I'll show that quickly. So if I do this, we come to, because I'm guessing you were talking about levels. Yeah, you said layers, but I think you probably meant levels. It gets confusing because there's a lot of different things. So like we'll name this second level. Switch to level on creation. Ooh. I can't see anything. Ooh, that does not, I do not believe that is the... Let's do... There we go. Gotta have compare levels on. Gotta think about these things. Yeah, and sorry, I probably said that jerkishly. So my apologies for that. But yeah, now we can see what was going on underneath. We can do building tool. We'll do this, and we'll have this as a wall. And we'll kind of like just match what was there. Or actually, no, let's do something completely different on top. Let's do stone so it's more visible. And then when we come to do export, we'll have an option for showing the different levels. So we can set source level to ground. And then we can also set the overlay level to be second level. So we can see that above the lower level. And then we can reduce the opacity of that. So we can still kind of see the stone. But then also see through it, which is actually a cool effect. I like that a lot. And that's basically the idea. And you can also change the focus. So like maybe you can make that part very blurry and have this be visible. So people will be very focused on that second level once you've moved up to it. That's the basics. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Yep, so there's that. So for a monk, Way of Shadow monk, we have an ability score that we can pick or a feat. We can go with mobile, magic initiate, or athlete. They're kind of all good options. I think I'm maybe doing, I don't know. Or we could go ability score improvement. And the ability scores currently are 10 for strength. We're leaving that. I'm not wasting points on that. We could get dex up to 20 and intelligence up to 16, which would make sense character-wise. Or we could bring wisdom up to 16, or charisma to 16 and dex to 20. I'm not going to do constitution. That's lame. So we could do that or ability score increase. And then the last little bit for us to talk about, if anybody cares, is kind of monsters. What would be a fun monster? Do y'all like the look and the features of a shadow dancer, a shadow demon? What are the challenge ratings? 4. Challenge rating 7. Maybe not a shadow dancer. Or maybe a shadow dancer that the rest of the party fights while Callista fights her sister. And then you could have a shadow mastiff. Shadow mastiff, maybe a few of those guarding the area or serving as Diana's pets would be interesting. Probably not going to do the young red shadow dragon. That was part of an earlier, slightly crazier idea that I had. And then there's also classic shadow. Just throw in a bunch of shadows that move through the flickering lights of the store or the cave, or the shadows of people who have died previously. Shadow dancers are tough, hit hard. Yeah, I haven't actually looked at the... Let's take a look at what these things do. Condition immunities, charmed and exhausted, or exhaustion. They're resistant to necrotic. Ooh, that's gonna suck. Hex is necrotic, and my warlock loves her hex. Fey ancestry. The shadow dancer has advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic can't put it to sleep. It doesn't even need the advantage on saving throws against being charmed because it has an immunity to charm. I get that Fey ancestry is just like a block that I'm sure gets added automatically when it's checked, though. Shadow jump. As a bonus action, the shadow dancer can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. Both the space it teleports from and the space it teleports to must be in dim light or darkness. The shadow dancer can use this ability between the weapon attacks of another action it takes. Huh. Shadow dancer can teleport. So this is actually very in line with the Way of the Shadow. So having this would almost be like fighting two of her. The shadow dancer can use this ability between the weapon attacks of another action it takes. That's crazy. Oh, sorry if my cat's tail is showing up. She's making herself known. That was my cat. She did not like being picked up and moved, but she was going to start knocking my stuff over. Multi-attack. The shadow dancer makes 3 spiked chain attacks. That is a lot of attacks. +6 to hit. So that means for the lowest armored player, she needs to hit at least an 8. And then she'll hit basically every time. To hit the highest armored player, she'll need a 13. 10-foot reach. 2d6 plus 3 piercing damage, and the target must succeed on a 14 dexterity saving throw or suffer 1 additional effect of the shadow dancer's choice. Grappled, prone, or an additional 4d10 necrotic damage. Oof. You were not kidding. These things do hit pretty hard. I do like this a lot, though, because the last thing that they fought in the Windswept Plains was a chain devil who had 4 animated chains on top of his 2 chains. So there's like a very heavy chain theme here. So that would actually be pretty cool. That's I think we're gonna do Shadow Dancer, folks, because that's so badass. Uh, it just fits. It just fits too well with everything else. It's like Diana. It's like The Last Nightmare. There's a very like chain heavy theme through all this. Um, yeah, and then maybe if they're just wrecking it, I'll just throw an additional couple shadows in to soak up some of the action economy. Uh, charisma would be cool for torture. This isn't going to be Diana's actual stat block because in reality she's going to be a outside of this nightmare she's going to be a sorcerer. Though I don't know, maybe having her actually be a monk would be cool. And then both sisters, one could be Way of the Sun Soul, light, the other Way of Shadow, just darkness, and they merge together. That could be cool. I like that. I mean, it's just like a very stark dichotomy, which is cool. Grapple is weak, but restraint is very strong. That spike chain is nasty. Yeah, just curious. In my campaign, I love the idea of feats, but people rarely want to pass on ability score. So I made a homebrew that would allow both at level 4-8, which is pretty fun. Is it imbalanced? You know what? If you've given them an ASI and a feat, that just means you can throw harder monsters at them. Just add more HP, maybe add a layer action here or there. And then you can balance it out. You can make your players as strong as you want and just Shrek them with harder monsters. So I don't think, and especially just adding a few feats and a few extra ASIs, I don't think is going to break the game. Just gotta monitor it, make sure that your enemies are hitting hard just like they are. Anything that you let a player do, you should let an enemy do. So I love sending enemies that are just like player classes effectively. And then just letting them do all the things that they frustrated me doing to my monsters and stuff like that. I think that's fun. And it always reminds me of that scene in the first campaign of Critical Role. And I won't give any spoilers or anything, but Talison's character is always doing action surges, and a character then like goes to make another action against him, and he goes, wait, she couldn't do that unless, and Matt just goes, she had an action surge, and he just throws it back at his face, and it's great. I love it. So we're doing Shadow Dancer. Shadow Dancer's cool. Which level is your group? They are level 6. They just hit level 6. And I actually have heard of people giving a feat at level 1 to cope with the variant human, to make sure that people don't just pick variant human. So I definitely don't think that's going to break anything. To go back to the earlier question, I was thinking more Cenobites since you have a lot of chains. I'm not sure. Let's see, Cenobites. Oh! I was thinking D&D. Yeah, that's creepy. Maybe I'll use some art like this to show what the Shadow Dancer looks like. With a tiny flame at the tip of each pin that just like sends crazy shadows all across their faces or something. I give an extra feat at level 1 that has to be worked into / make sense with the background. I think that's a good idea. I do a lot of stuff based on background. Like if someone wanted to be a goblin, but they didn't want like the charisma hit or something like that because they wanted to be a sorcerer. Like there's been some talk about how racial bonuses in D&D are kind of not great. And I understand that argument 100%, and it probably isn't great, but it is like a mechanical thing to encourage different choices. But I'm fine completely overruling all of that and just giving traits based on backstories and backgrounds and things like that. Way too easy. Firebolt, blade, invisibility. Good luck. Yeah, so we're gonna do Shadow Dancer. You guys should definitely check out Wave Shadow Monks. They're badass. And I think to make her totally negative to Callista, because Callista has Sentinel mobile is kind of like the anti-Sentinel. It enables you to attack and move away more easily, as opposed to other people making attacks and then you prevent them from moving away. Just to make it more dichotomous, I might do that. Since it doesn't seem like anybody has super strong opinions on the feats, which is totally fine. I know a lot of people probably just also showed up and weren't here for the earlier instructions, or not instructions, but earlier comments about what the situation was going to be for her, and why I was leaning in a certain way. I appreciate the Dragon Ball Sun Soul Monks too. Yeah, and people like give a lot of crap to Sun Soul Monks. I don't understand why. Having a player that is one, they're badass. And they can put out a lot of damage, and they can do a lot of stuff that all the other monks can. But they can also like cast Burning Hands multiple times with a few key points on top of making other physical attacks. And they can move super fast. They can run up walls. They're crazy. But with all of that out of the way, and since we've got the map imported into Foundry, and it's 11:50, and I haven't talked to my wife in about 3 hours, I might call that a night for everything. Thanks everybody so much for watching. It's been a whole lot of fun, and we made a lot of progress. And I'm not going to do it right now, but I am going to, once this gets onto YouTube, like once it's processed and it's available as a video, I'm going to post the DungeonDraft map file, the universal export, and the actual map image itself for y'all to download if you want it. So you can use it for your own game or just mess around with it and look at how I put things around. You will need this asset pack, so you know what, I'm going to change the ground texture in the map file so that it doesn't require any extra asset packs. And then it should be good if y'all want it. And if you don't, no worries. It's been a lot of fun. I hope to see you all in the next one. I'll probably stream again on Monday at around 7:30. Just like today. It's fun doing the campaign prep that way. And it's given my wife a chance to finish her rewatch of Avatar. So thank you all again. And for everybody who like super chatted or whatever, that's amazing. I was not anticipating that. And for everybody who commented and chatted, it's been a lot of fun. I like talking to everybody, especially about your D&D games. So hopefully we can do that more next week. I don't know how to end this. Thanks all of you. You're all being extremely kind. Thank you all. I guess I'm just gonna end it. Bye-bye.